I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Is there, before you start your comment, you may provide your name and address. Please do not provide your name if you wish to remain anonymous or if you do not want your information included in the meeting minutes. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comment. This public forum is not structured as a question and answer session, but is offered as an opportunity to share your thoughts with the board. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on items not on the meeting agenda? Thank you. We're going to get into presentations. We'll begin with 7A, recognition of student representative of the board, Andy Martinez. Okay, and we are very excited, and I have a couple things I'd like to say, Andy. Here we go, I wrote them down. Okay, so tonight, we want to take a moment to express our sincere gratitude to Andy Martinez for his outstanding service as our student representative this past school year. Being a bridge between the student body and the board is no small task, but Andy handled it with remarkable poise. Each month, we looked forward to Andy's school site reports, which gave us a clear and vital window into the daily lives of our students across the entire district. Beyond the reports, whenever we asked for a student perspective, Andy provided thoughtful commentary and honest opinions that helped with our decision making. Perhaps most importantly, Andy brought a calm presence and consistently positive attitude to this dais. Andy, thank you for your dedication and your service to the school district. You have been a powerful voice for your peers, don't ever forget that, and a pleasure to work with. We wish you the very best in your next chapter, and we're going to miss you a whole lot. Thank you so much.
I just want to say a few things. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity. It's been a wonderful experience being with you guys. Thank you to my parents who are in attendance right now. And I just want to say thank you for the support, and this has been a wonderful experience for me.
Great.
So thank you guys a lot.
Great. And on behalf of the district and the board, we have a little present for you, too. And we have a certificate of appreciation. So thank you. Could we take a picture with the... Yeah. Yeah, bring your parents up, too.
Are we going out there?
Yeah.
Sorry, just one more from home.
I just want to make one comment about Andy. When you talk about a well-rounded student, the epitome right here. Whether you play soccer, you play football, you do the board, I mean, the list of things you do is amazing. So you are the perfect all-around student. Thanks for sharing.
I want to, I wrote some notes as well, and I was just saying, like, not only to acknowledge, you know, the courage it takes to sit in a room full of adults, never underestimate how qualified you are at that, because you've done it for a full year, and that's a testament to who you are. So know that that will carry you far, and to ditto that comment, because balancing academics, sports, this, friends, family. It's a lot, and you did it well, so congratulations.
All righty.
And my comment is, I agree with all of those, and you're making your mom and dad very proud, and I'm sure that they're very proud.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of your work. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, we are going to move on to 7B, and that is recognition of the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year, and I'd like to call on Nick Haley.
It's gonna be me. I'm Kat.
Great. Hi, Kat.
Hi. Hello, my name is Kat. I'm the St. Helena Teen Center site director.
And I'm Megan, I'm the program director.
So every year we select 2 students from our site to recognize. And in 2025 we awarded Saul the Youth of the Year Award and Odalis the Elaine Jones Reach Award. And this award is for teens who we feel like need to be uplifted in our community. And so today they will come up to say a couple of things about their award in the Teen Center. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Odalis Avila Santos. I have been a part of the club since first grade. In 2025, I was awarded by the club $1,000 through the Elaine Jones Reach Award. This was a big moment for me because I felt seen by my community. I'm grateful for the club because of all the activities and the Oregon Teen Retreat. Both have helped me create different friendships and encouraged me to open up and express my emotions.
Hello, my name is Saul Rios Mesa. I have been a part of the Boys and Girls Club since I was in 3rd grade. In 2025, I was awarded by the club $2,500 through the Youth of the Year Award from the St. Helena Teen Center. I believe the club and the Teen Center have been a great help to spreading my horizons from the people I've met and interacted with to the experiences on the team retreat I've had with them. Also being able to rely on the staff and have a sturdy support system with them has impacted my life. I appreciate you all for listening to me talk about my experience with the program.
I had the privilege of being working with 2 other adults to listen. I cannot get my words out tonight. But I had the privilege of meeting Saul. He was one of the candidates. There were 3 of them between the Calistoga and the St. Helena clubs, and he went through a rigorous process of question and answer, sharing his story, having to be really brave and share some personal things about himself, which were wonderful to learn your story and what you're doing currently in high school. And I know that you have an interest in cooking and your endeavors with being a chef someday. And so I really appreciated learning those stories and then honoring you at the beautiful Krug Winery along with the other finalists. So that was a wonderful experience, and it really is wonderful to see how invested Boys and Girls Club is with all of our students and children in the Valley, and how well you do with the club and the school's support. So it's wonderful to see you again. Thank you for being here tonight. Congratulations. Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7C, Performance by St. Helena High School Choir. And I would like to call on Mrs. Alba Gonzalez Arredondo. Hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members, and people in the community. We have tonight the St. Helena RLS 8th grade choir. This choir has been very special to me. These students, most of them have been with me in the wheel since 6th grade. And they continue their path in a year-long class this year for 8th grade. I'm very proud of their work and everything what they have accomplished this school year. And yes, they are moving up to the high school, and I hope you enjoy this performance. We have one song for you, and this is a rock song from Living on a Prayer. We have two soloists, and yes, and that is over here, we have Gavin Cullen, and we have over here in the soprano area, we have Emma Torres.
guilty pleasure confession, Bon Jovi's my favorite band, so I loved it. That was great. Okay. We're going to get into 7D. That is information on the Vine Trail project, and I'd like to call on Dr. McClay.
And we have two visitors with us tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Sean Casey White, and I believe that Mr. McGinn is also here. But they are going to do an information item. We're not voting or taking any action on anything, but this is your opportunity to ask questions, seek clarification. You also have a packet of all of the handouts in front of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And to have Chuck, I'm just going to introduce things, and then Chuck is going to go over a few of the details of the progress that we've been making on the trail, and specifically the safety measures in front of the elementary school. So I think it's been probably a year and a half since I was last in front of you, at least in this body, and we've been making progress on the environmental impact report for the Vine Trail connection between Yountville and St. Helena, and we're excited to say that that report will be submitted for public circulation in September, so you'll be seeing announcements of community meetings and other opportunities to have feedback on the impact report, and then we'll complete that and then submit it to the county supervisors for approval the spring of 2027, and that will take us to progress to civil engineering. But we wanted to share with you in advance of that a few of the things that have been coming up in those discussions. You are not only interested because of the schools in the area, but also because you're a landowner and invested in the project, both at the co-op and in front of the high school. But because this trail is on the west side, the design and the alignment of the trail is so that we can connect our communities and we can make safe routes to school, and that we can bring connected sidewalks to St. Helena. So if you live on the east side, or you live, say, south in town, that you can walk to school instead of maybe skip through the vineyard rows in the way to get to high school on the back end. I hear all kinds of stories. But we are really excited to see the progress. This is also the time when, a year and a half ago, I was here because we're applying for the ATP Cycle 8 grant and the SF4A grant. This is the critical path. If our plans are to break ground by 2028, these are the construction grants. The coalition, which Chuck and I represent, we are the private entity that does the support for the trail and also provides the 25% match for construction. That is the catalyst or the seed money that gets the federal and state grants, which provide 75% of the total budget. So these are critical grants. The SS4A is the federal transportation grant, and we're applying for $12 million specifically for the city of St. Helena, and those alignments Chuck will be talking about just in a few moments. And that grant specifically will focus on emergency response, but also the importance of separating pedestrians from vehicles. And the story that you can see on the slide here is no surprise to anyone in this room, that our schools are aligned on the high injury network on Highway 29 that have speeds of excess of 45 miles an hour and 35 miles an hour with a traffic volume of 32,000 cars a day. Even Caltrans recommends that we need to have sidewalks and separation of pedestrians from these vehicles. And so that importance of the SS4A grant, we think is a part of this, and the alignment that was approved by the city of St. Helena 4 years ago is part of the general plan, and so we're excited that this funding will come through this year, and that the story that we tell and the way that we're connecting our schools really is significant. The second grant we're applying for is the Cycle 8 of the Active Transportation Grant for the state of California, and we're asking for $46 million for the total project. between Yountville and St. Helena. And that focus is specifically active transportation. And again, the work that the city is already doing to connect streets like Mills and Grayson, the new signal alignments, the new development on Fountain Court, and other projects we're incorporating into that, which are significantly important as we build this plan. These are the documents that I've given to the superintendent to review that are part of that application, as we simply just identify the schools, the demographics of the schools, and again, that's how we emphasize the importance of the audience that we're impacting, and we're really trying to emphasize how this is connecting these schools are so critical in this grant application. I will emphasize it one more time. This is the critical path. These are the dollars that we need and the timeline to keep if we're going to break ground in 2028 and start these improvements. So I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, though, to tell you some of the examples that we're submitting to the City of St. Helena for review shortly.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks for the opportunity to give you an update. We did not get the grant last year, either of these two grants, which is one of the reasons we're back today to try to another shot. We were 4 points short on the federal level, or the statewide level for ATP last year, and we were actually above the cut line for MTC, the local money, but the amount of money that we needed was more than they had left in their kitty by the time they got to our project, so they skipped over us. So we are right on the hairy edge of where we need to be, and we've taken some of their comments into consideration. We've really doubled down on making sure that we do everything we can to qualify, and we think we have at least 4 more points to gain this time around. And the other thing is that there's more money in the bucket this year than there was last year, and that will help, I think, everybody in terms of their ability to be funded. So, as Sean said, in the fall, the environmental document will be out for public comment. We're happy to kind of give you a preview in draft form over the summer as we collect that information together. And then just the timeline is that once that environmental document goes to the public, is reviewed, comments collected, comments are responded to, a final environmental document will be put out again for review, and then come to the Board of Supervisors to be adopted and approved. And one thing that has changed from the last year to this year is that during the process of looking at the environmental document, several community members in the south part of the run between Yountville and roughly the Napa Valley, Welcome to Napa Valley sign, suggested a potential alternative of putting that piece of the Vine Trail on the east side of the highway. And we took the extra time we had, because we did not get the grant, to look at that in detail. So the environmental document will actually have 2 different alternatives in it as it affects the run from Yountville up to around the Napa Valley sign. It doesn't affect anything that we're talking to you about, because that's all north of there. So one thing before I get into the slides here, a slide I didn't have is what happens in front of the preschool. I know that Maureen Kelly is very concerned to make sure that we do the proper thing in terms of especially the trees there and the traffic. And trees and traffic are both part of the next phase of engineering, what Sean called civil engineering. It's really taking the plans from the 35% level to the 65% level, and that really nails down all of the details of traffic and trees and mitigations. And one of the things that we have decided is we have hired the arborist that we're going to use, which is the arborist that actually Ms. Kelly recommended, Pacific Tree Care. They have agreed to be part of the team, and they will be getting into their activities around the actual measures that need to be taken with those trees around the end of the year. And so they haven't started any work yet, but they have been retained by the lead engineering firm, Kimberly Horn. So getting into what's happening in St. Helena and what we're looking at, as you know, the trail comes into town along Main Street. It cuts over 1 block on Mitchell to Oak. It goes down Oak to Adams Street. It goes back across Highway 29 on Adams to Railroad. It goes up Railroad to Fulton. It goes down just a little bit to jump on the railroad right away, south of Railroad, and then goes all the way up to Pratt, then Pratt back to the highway and on up on the existing section to Calistoga. So some of the things I think that really are local to this area, the top screen there shows a potential, what's called a mini roundabout at the intersection of Mitchell and Oak. Mitchell is running east and west on that picture, Oak is running north and south, but that roundabout is what's called a mountable roundabout, so fire equipment can go straight over it, but it tends to steer the traffic in a way that makes it a little bit safer than the existing crossing for kids and adults and anybody else using the trail. You can see some examples of what a mini roundabout does on the bottom two pictures. And if we could go on to the next slide, I think the next document. Here, and this is a little bit of an eye chart, but it's some of the features, and you have all this in your hand, it's some of the features that are going in, we are looking to put in place on Oak and Adams and Railroad. I'll point out some. There is a gray box with two arrows, one pointing in each direction. Those are what's called speed cushions or speed pillows, and they're specifically designed to not be a contiguous bump in the road, but to be one that has gaps in it, and those gaps line up exactly with the wheels of a fire engine, so that we don't impede any of the emergency vehicles, but a normal car's wheelbase is not aligned that large, and they then tend to slow down. And the reason for the slowdown is that while the pedestrians are on the sidewalk here, in order not to lose any parking on Oak, the bicyclists are in the middle of the road with the cars. And it's called a bike boulevard. And if you take some of these protective measures to slow the traffic down to less than 25 miles an hour, preferably less than 20 miles an hour, it is safe. The survivability of a bicyclist being hit by a car at less than 20 miles an hour is well up in the 80 or 90% range. When that gets to 35 or 40 miles an hour, it drops to well less than 50%. So very important to slow the traffic down. Another feature that is in the middle of that diagram at Tainer and Oak is a bulb out of the curb on the east side of Oak to narrow the intersection there and to put crosswalks in on all legs of that intersection to again make cars aware that there is pedestrians crossing or that intersection, making it a little bit safer. There's also some similar features being discussed at Adams and Oak, but nothing really that's firm yet. But one block south on Adams at Main and Oak, the similar bulb out making the curb area stick out into the traffic flow on three sides of the Adams and Main Street intersection are being planned. And then similarly, a treatment similar to that at the turn from Adams onto Railroad. Some necking down of the width of Railroad in one place, again to slow the traffic, and an alignment of a couple of the, creation of some crossings, then the alignment of some crossings at the north end of Railroad. So all of these features are being considered in the environmental document for the purposes of creating safety for pedestrians and for bicyclists. We'll have a lot more information in the summer. We'll get back to Superintendent McCoy. But anybody else who wants to have more information, let us know, and then be aware that in the fall, these documents will be out for public comment and free. And the purpose is to look at things we might have missed in order to make the document as robust as possible. I think that's really pretty much everything I have to say. Last year, you authorized Dr. McCoy to validate the information that's in our SS4A grant, Safe Safe Streets for All. That, and so, again, we're asking that documentation be confirmed, that's a requirement of the SS4A grant. And other than that, we would love a letter of support if you're so up for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, we're happy to take them.
Okay.
When are letters of support due?
The letters of support would be due for the SF4A, or just the authorization is due for SF4A by the end of this month. The ATP is not due until the 20th of June.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Anything else? Just actually to piggyback on that question, on Trustee Pelosi's question, how many other letters of support have you received and from whom?
Oh, I have over 30 letters of support already. One of the things that will be coming out as a landowner, if I can just call you that, is that we are doing, again, the same thing that we did a year and a half ago, which is it's a general letter of support. It's not individualized. It's one that's authored by Chuck and myself, and then we send out a DocuSign, and we're sending that out to all 45 of the landowners, and just for an e-signature. The last time we did that, we had over 90% of the landowners that signed it. We have 99%, approval from the landowners with the alignment. So, we'll expect to get the same in that signature, so that letter will be going out on Monday as another confirmation if that's approved. And, but we have letters of support from the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's department, the CHP, and Chambers of Commerce. We have the letters of support from business owners, including Trincaro and Gallo, and also the public Napa County Land Trust, the grape growers. But we've been specifically working also with Burbank Housing and Our Town, because we really want to draw attention to the fact that Up Valley Family Centers, for example, has 3,000 clients that do not have regular or vehicle transportation. And so connected walkways and improved sidewalks are critically important to all of the residents that live in our communities, and particularly within this corridor. And so we are, in order to get those 4 points, really focusing on how these treatments will improve the walkability, particularly of the metro area of St. Helena. And so those letters are really paramount. So that support has really been my focus for the last couple of months, and working with those groups to make sure that their projects that they're working on, like Fountain Court, are included and considered as we try to connect all of our community.
Thank you all.
Oh, I think we have one more.
I have just a quick question. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm kind of late to the game here. So my question is, and I think I know the answer to this, but so that letter of support, now does that, I'm not sure if this is the correct terms, and is that any kind of a binding agreement to anything in the future, how it looks or anything? Or is part of the plan still to look at different options at the St. Helena Co-op and here at our district?
Exactly right.
Okay.
In fact, it says in that the letter that will come out on Monday for an e-signature is non-binding. It's just that in principle, we support that the trail, we understand that this is still going through CEQA and NEPA, and that, we'll be involved in the design process. So all of that is clear in that letter. In fact, the letter that the board signed, because last year it was the board that signed that authorized that letter worked wonderfully. And there's no binding agreement on that letter. And your statements clearly stated that, you were still participating in the design and the alignment.
Okay.
So, that worked just perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have at least 4 or 5 more times to look at plans as they continue to be developed and say, they still look okay, or they don't quite look okay, can you change it? So you got lots more opportunities to get
Okay.
into details.
You'll get
Okay.
sick and tired of Chuck and I because that's our role. And our roles are going to get really busy over the next year as we move beyond CEQA and NEPA because we plan on having more time with you as we get to those designs and incorporate your ideas and talk with you. So, we're on this together and we're working on that 2028 breaking ground deadline.
Okay, great, thank you, thank you.
And I think it's just more to educate myself, and particularly on this slide when you were speaking, when you were talking about, the need to slow down traffic, and there would be modifications to roads and sidewalks. So what is the role of the city of St. Helena in this process? I mean, because, traffic,
Right.
it could really impact traffic.
Right, so the city of St. Helena is a partner in all of this.
Okay.
There are many engineering meetings, and Eric Jensen in the
Okay.
city is at all of them.
Okay.
We just had one yesterday morning, or this morning for 2 hours, going through various aspects of it. Not only are they involved from a technical side, but the city of St. Helena is also a contributor to the project.
Okay.
The city has pledged $900,000 toward the project.
Okay.
I should say the county has also pledged $5 million toward the project, and the Vine Trail Coalition has pledged $5 million toward the project. And all that money is being used for engineering, and it's being used as part of the match for these construction grants that we're going for. So they're intimately involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sean and Chuck, thank you so much for being here tonight, updating us. Thank you.
Thank you.
7E, presentation on the 2025-26 Food Services Program. I would like to call Mrs. Tina Ledesma.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justina Ledesma, and I'm the Food Service Director. I wanted to thank President Simon, trustees, Dr. McClay, Mr. Heller, Dr. Vang, and everyone else here to allow me to speak today on my presentation. So today I have our food service report for 2025, 2026, and our topics today, go ahead. Our topics today are program overview, menu development, staff development, and successes and our opportunities for the program. Our program overview, our district is a part of a free meal program through California. All meals are free to our students regardless of status. All meals are USDA and CDE approved meals, so everything we serve are within meal pattern and meal guidelines. We also combat student hunger by doing a couple of items. So we have an unlimited salad bar for our students, which is offered during our lunchtime. The students may get an unlimited salad with their entree on a daily basis. And we also have a shared table for our students as well. So any uneaten, unwanted food that is served to students may be placed at a shared table for any other student who may want a second helping of something else. This program is implemented in most school districts, I think in all districts, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead. And our menu development, I just want to first off thank the Board of Trustees to approving our new menu software, Healthy Pro. This is going to help us develop new recipes and be in compliance for all meals. This software is a huge improvement into creating our program in compliance. This also will help assist staff with reading and following recipes using, sorry, I apologize. In our efforts to move forward with improvements, we've been using our monthly team meetings to taste test, talk about, and discuss what our students are not liking. And nutrition education, if you want to click the next one. I have been posting monthly menu flyers. We call this Nutrition Facts. This is posted monthly for our families to kind of get to know our program. We have our pizza here that we serve on Fridays. Our pizza is made with whole grain, with local Californian cheese, and pepperoni made with turkey with no added nitrates or any preservatives. Everything that we do have and do serve are no dye-free and preservative-free items. I'll go ahead and the next item. And our opportunities and successes. So I want to start with our opportunities, menu development. As we taste test and check more diverse menu items. My team and I have pitching ideas and doing taste testing during our meetings. Our focus is to get more scratch meal items on our menu next year. And most importantly, getting the staff training. We need to focus on making sure we have our staff producing efficient meals. If you want to go to the next one. And then I wanted to highlight our successes for this year. We served the Fiesta de Octubre. My team and I had prepared and served 600, and we got to showcase our homemade scratch refried beans with side street corn. That was really, really a hit with families. And then I continue to network with other food service directors. I invite them to our district to come see our kitchens, give them a chance to give me a chance to different opportunity in other ways we can be more efficient and maybe get to know their operations a little bit to try to see what we can introduce to our district. And as for this year as well too, we have a few new improved items that I wanted to kind of hone in. We started making homemade sauces just to kind of add to our salad bars to get students more excited about our meals. And sourcing higher quality proteins, we changed to a whole meat chicken patty for our chicken sandwiches, along with for our hamburgers, it is USDA approved and grade, less than 20% fat, and with minimal processing. Thank you, sorry. With minimal processing, we changed over to higher quality proteins in our meals, and we continue to research our new recipes for the future. Go ahead. And I wanted to thank everyone, and if you had any questions or comments.
Okay, sorry. Okay, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
I do, if you don't
Okay.
mind. Okay. Thank you very much for your report this evening. Thank you. And this might be outside of the scope of this report, and we certainly in the future would be fine too. But as far as the meal count, are we pretty steady right now as far as kind of our breakfast, lunch, or?
We actually have a 9% increase on breakfast and a 9.5% increase on lunch.
Okay.
Great.
So we've
Okay.
been doing pretty well this year compared to last year.
Okay, so it's from last year then, 9%?
Yes, I
Okay.
compared it from last year's.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I know you mentioned that in your staff meetings, you talk about what meals really work and which don't with the kids. Have you done any type of parental, can't talk either, parental survey? I've just heard some more of the primary school parents unhappy or too much this or that, and I just wondered, is that an idea maybe to reach out to the parents as well to see what they feel good about, maybe what they might like to see different?
Yeah, that is a focus for the next coming year. I am creating a survey for our DLAC parents, just to kind of get their feedback. I think the meeting is next week, or the end of the month, sometime in May. I'll be meeting with them and getting their advice on how we can better educate what it is that we serve. I think that's a lot of work that, I need to focus on as far as getting the information out to parents that the meals that we are serving are in compliance within the sodiums, no additives, preservatives, sugars. We're all getting that information out. That is a focus for next year, but for now, we're starting with a survey with our DLAC parents just to kind of get their feedback on what menu ideas I can start off with next year, so.
I also wanted to thank you for, we got to have a meal served by you in April. Yeah, with the orange chicken and the roasted broccoli and the brown rice. It was delicious.
Yeah, so that was a meal that I introduced with the students as well. That will be, I think, in next week's menu as well. The kids seem to really like it. Again, it was brown rice, whole grain breading on our chicken. So trying to get the most nutrient-dense foods into our students is definitely a goal. And Healthy Pro has actually helped with that because they also have sample recipes that we can actually piggyback or, get ideas from other districts that decide to share.
Okay.
So.
I had a quick question about quantity. If you could help me understand, I look at the high school kids, I have a high schooler, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, and you've got, I think about just my son in general, he's 6'1", has the appetite of a rhinoceros. And so how does quantity work depending on size of the student?
Unfortunately, USDA and CDE have very strict guidelines when it comes to serving grains and our protein, which is considered MMAs, where we have limits on what we can and can't serve students. This is why we also offer the share table as an opportunity for a student who doesn't want their food or got served an item that they don't want to deposit there.
Okay.
And then another student to grab, and our salad bar is unlimited to the student. So encouraging to eat fruits and vegetables, sorry. But we do,
Is that like so how would an entree? Do entrees go to the shared table?
Yes, but
Okay.
as long as the entree isn't opened. If it's a wrapped, like a hot dog or a wrapped burger, that can go on the share table. If it's an open entree, it's not. It's just not sanitary at that point. It just depends, there are some limitations of what can be on the share table.
Okay.
A packed item, essentially.
Can be got it. Okay.
And then we also add beans and I would like to incorporate the salads like that you tried, the edamame, the corn edamame salad. I would like to incorporate more protein-dense items as an option in the salad bar. Unfortunately, we are limited on how much meat and cheese we can serve a student and how many calories. So at least the salad bar gives another opportunity for students to get more nutrients and more food in their day. So
Okay. Great, thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, Andy.
I just want to comment, from a student's perspective, I actually think the school lunch, and my friends as well, they all think it's very good. Like, we love the chicken sandwich day. That's our favorite day.
So that was a new protein that we did introduce. We introduced a spicy and a regular one. It is a whole grain breaded, whole muscle chicken breast that is minimally processed. I used this brand in my previous district, and it just seemed to be such a hit with the kids. And it's a filling sandwich, so it feels nice, heavy, and dense. So. Thank you.
And you just said something that made me think of something. So when you said burgers come wrapped or hot dog, something comes wrapped, so that's being wrapped by our own staff, in our own kitchen for sanitary and presentation versus something that's prepackaged.
Yeah, no. Like the burgers, hot dogs, everything that we wrap on our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you hear, if there are parent comments about, all these things are wrapped or packaged, the packaging is actually, in some cases, done in-house. It's not like it's a processed, prepackaged type of item.
Yes.
Okay. I just thought that's it's an important clarification, I think, so people don't assume that just because you've wrapped something, it meant that was prepackaged.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
Yes, we
okay,
did
great. No,
track
I think that's important for the hard work you and your staff are doing, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you for being so aware of less processed foods and the quality of protein, so thank you.
It's definitely going to be a process, changing the menu, getting the team to accurately and follow recipes. It is going to be a learning curve, but like I said, with this program, it makes recipe reading very simple, straightforward, and this program also gives sample recipes that other districts use that decide to share. So it's nice to see what other districts are using and piggyback on those ideas, because all the ingredients are coming from the same vendors or similar vendors that we have. So it's easy to tweak our recipe just to, whether it's local items, making sure that the cheeses are local and all that stuff, that's the only changes I would have to do per se. But everything else, it's already ready for us to inherit and then start producing.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to share with the board, Tina didn't share this. She's so humble, but she did apply for a grant. We were just notified late last week that we received the grant. The grant was open to all school districts. Tina took the time and the effort to apply, and we were just notified. So it's a little over, I believe, 55,000.
Yeah.
And that is going to help us with with our upcoming trainings with staff.
Yeah, equipment, lack of equipment that we may need for these newer recipes. You guys sampled that chocolate hummus, that's a potential
yes.
breakfast item. But we do need something that could blend and smooth it out a little bit more. But yeah, that'll be going towards those items and making sure that the staff has the adequate equipment to make scratch recipes, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for going above and beyond and doing that.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yay. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move past 7F and on to 7G, presentation from, yes? No?
You'll recall that we pulled item 7F when we opened the meeting, and that was at the request of the DLAC president, who will be making the presentation. She just requested to do it in June.
Thank you. 7G presentation from EcoGreen Solutions regarding the California Public Utility Commission's on-bill financing program for LED lighting retrofit project. Dr. Vang.
Thank you, President Simon. I'm going to hand this over to Anthony Mitchell with EcoGreen. Also in the audience, we have Mike Flores, our Facilities Director, so that after the presentation, if there are any questions, we can answer those questions and ensure that you have the information you need. Thank you.
Good evening, council, staff. My name is Anthony Mitchell. I'm the president and managing director of EcoGreen Solutions. I'm honored to be here again with you guys this evening. I'm hoping that we can hopefully give you guys some information more about the program, the funds, where they come from, whose they are, and what you're already paying into as far as the program goes. Thank you, Kay. So who is EcoGreen Solutions? We were founded in 2008. We originally started through a program with San Diego Gas and Electric, which was piloting this concept of how to get the energy mandates for the state and how do you get it to market. Dollars and cents were always an issue. And so from there, we were able to pilot this program with SDG&E, which then became so successful. It was picked up by Southern California Edison early 2010, and then Pacific Gas and Electric late 2010. EcoGreen Solutions is also federally recognized. We are on the federal list of energy services companies. We've been there for about 4 years. It took us about 5 years to get that accreditation. We are also a licensed C10 electrical contractor. That's what we are by trade, so all electrical work we do in-house. The majority of the work that we have proposed to the school district is all electrical, which is our employees. There are no subs. It's our individuals on our payroll. Also, too, we have several award-winning recognitions between San Diego Gas Electric, Pacific Gas Electric, and Southern California Edison as well. We do about 70% of their entire portfolio in this space. This is an example. There's a link on the bottom, which is a live hot link. These are just the contracts that we have completed full turnkey with installation. There's literally about 7,000 on there. The closest ones to the district would be the Culinary Institute here in Napa, the City of Calistoga, CAL FIRE, which is not too far down the road. Then as you go more towards the bay, the Dixon Unified School District is they're a little bit further behind you guys, but they're about to embark on this. But the Fairgrounds here in Napa is also a customer of ours that have used this program. As far as the references here, these are some other school entities that we've already completed years ago, and some as recently as last year. But it's the Santa Catalina School in Monterey. It is the Atascadero Unified School District, which we actually did 3 phases for them based upon what was available. And as we did a program, you're allowed to take multiple bites of the apple, so to speak, with this program. And so we started doing some outside work, then it went to inside work, and then the 3rd phase was kind of a fill-in as the program became more liberal and allowed more content. We did a 3rd phase for Atascadero. And they were also the poster child for the concept of the program. That district was done probably in 2014, 15, something like that. Also to the Dunn School, and then the East Nicholas High School, and that high school was heavily focused on their sport lighting in their football stadium. I'll give an example. So through the program and the state initiative through the Department of Energy, This is pretty much the four-step process that we try to do for our customers. The first step is to reduce. It is always much less expensive to reduce your energy footprint before you start building solar or produce any sort of energy on site. The next step would be some sort of an add back where you would look at either EV charging or battery storage. A lot of times that comes separate because if you started that first, you don't have enough space on your power grid. So we want to do that reduction piece first to free up space in your breaker boxes and your panels, so that way you don't have to pay for this extra transformers or switchgear or hardware, which is very expensive. And so if you reduce first, you free up space on your grid, which allows you to add back some sort of EV charging or battery storage. There is a battery storage program coming where the utility will pay for that as well. And after the battery storage would then be some sort of a solar solution, which there are still solar funds available to the districts till the end of 2027. So as long as you have a conceptual design submitted or actually completed by July 4th of this year, and we've already done a lot of that work, so we could do that for you for the district and for council. There are still funds available for that, and then you bundle them all together to try to capture as much of other people's money to make sure that the district has as little liability or exposure to any sort of out-of-pocket exposure on any sort of renewable process. There's one other thing before we go there. There's a hydrogen program for the federal government. Hydrogen is becoming a thing. We are trying to work with the Culinary Institute down the road because their lack of space, so they don't have enough room for solar production. And the rates are supposed to increase by about 14% over the next 12 months or so. They've already passed it through the PUC. And we have been told because the credits are going away at the end of 27, pretty much 28 is no rebates, no credits on solar and battery, that they're telling us to prepare our customers for a doubling of whatever your cost is today by 2031. So this all ties into that to keep your operating costs down and your, obviously your energy costs down, your exposure down, and also increase the quality of your infrastructure. Okay, so there are technologies available, there's incentives available. The program that we are talking about with the district today is the incentive currently for the district. We handle, again, the full turnkey installation. It's our employees. And then there are warranty supports and service contracts because once it's done, you don't have to call anybody else through the life of the program. So we have a 12 months labor warranty on everything that we touch, and then there are factory warranties that are up to 10 years on the material. So if something does go out, staff just takes a photo of what is out. We work with the factories to get you the parts. If it's out of the labor warranty, we send you the material so you don't have to buy anything else through the next, the lifespan of the program, okay? And that's handled in-house. Pretty much this slide right here at the bottom basically is echoing, and this is from the State Department of Energy. It's on the energy.gov website. It's basically echoing it's less expensive to reduce your existing footprint with energy than it is to just produce with solar, battery, or renewable first. You always want to reduce that. The program, for every dollar you get from the program, it's worth about $3.50 of a renewable system. So right now, I want to say the district's got a little over $1 million from the Public Utility Commission funneled through the PG&E program. That's worth about $3.5 million. Hot water heat pumps, your pool pumps, your lighting, and what came through the program majority was lighting, and also refrigeration in your cafeterias. So all your walk-in refrigerators and coolers did have an upgrade piece to that. It's a very simple piece of replacing a motor and putting in a new motor. That was also included in those areas that were applicable through this program as well. The majority of what we're talking about is the lighting, which was banned as of 2025, January 1st. If you have them and if you're a licensed contractor, it's illegal for us to even touch them or install them. So our program is full turnkey, so all of your fluorescents that you have, which many of our customers in the municipal space are sitting on boxes of old lights, please give those to us because we will recycle those through this program if the district decides to move forward, okay? This process basically gives you an outline of all the different steps that we have to go through. Really, I won't go through all the minutia or the nuances of the details. What I wanted to focus on was the yellow section, because the very last yellow cell is an engineering QA review. And so everything that goes through the program, realize this is district's money. This is not PG&E money. And I've got some slides that will be coming here in a minute that shows you how much the district is already paying into this program. So because it's the utility and we are a contractor or a subcontractor of the program and you guys are the customer, the Utility Commission puts a clause in place where a third-party quality assurance engineer has to do a sanity check on all the claims, the calculations, the product, and your usage and your old technology. We did an assessment, so we have all the documentation of all your old lights and refrigeration and things that they approved. We take that and we suggest what we would replace it with that is on the approved list from the utility program. From there, they take it and say, okay, this is great. What does the third party say? And they have no skin in the game, right? So they're paid completely separate. And all their job is to make sure that there's no funny business and that the calculations make sense and that it's a like-for-like replacement and that, that it's supposed to do what it's supposed to do, right? So the quality assurance review is on the front end before we actually do the work. They review all the paperwork and the scope with the engineering, and then we do the install. They also do a review on the back end to make sure that everything matches with what it was supposed to be, to make sure that everything was done correctly. All that stuff happens before PG&E decides to pay anything. Nobody gets paid anything. There's no prepayment. There's no initial payment. Nobody gets paid through this program. It's all pro bono until the job is complete, the widgets are installed, and the district says you guys are happy with the installation, and then you sign off a post-install agreement that says, we're happy, it's done correctly, you can now pay the vendors that are involved, okay? If something goes wrong and you don't like it, you just don't sign that, nobody gets paid a dime, right? And there's over $1 million that the district has that everybody wants to make sure that you guys are happy and that you're satisfied, okay? So this is the checklist that we had been provided by Kay and her team. It was a month's bill of the utility company. You guys gave us an hours of operation, which basically was like, what holidays are you closed? When is the schools open, et cetera. From those hours, that's basically the premise of what the calculations were based upon. There was a third-party authorization letter, which allows us to look at your historical data and your bills, because your bills are confidential. So you had to allow us to actually look at your bills, so that way you basically gave us authorization through PG&E to look at them, okay? The third was the financial supplement, which was no binding, no financially binding. It's just a matter of if the district is going to get any commitment from the utility company, they will not give it to you in writing unless you actually completed that application, which Kay and her team already did. The last two pieces of this were an affidavit that says that everything is working, and then the last piece was basically that the lights are going to be about 20% brighter in certain scenarios, and so you understand that. And during installation, if that happens, we can always put dimmers on them because they all come dimmable, and many times there's certain offices or certain areas where like, hey, can you dim this down a little bit or give us a dimmer to where we can select that? And that's always included in the process, right? We want to make sure that you guys are satisfied with the final product, okay? These right here, as we go into the next handful of slides, are directly from the program, where this is just noting that this is not PG&E money. These are public purpose program funds. Every bill, even on your house, the second to last page of every single bill has generation charges, transmission charges, decommissioning charges. Well, there's this little fund called the PPP fund, and it's the Public Purpose Program Fund. It's not cheap. It's about 8 to 10%, in some cases 12% of every bill. That is the fund that we're pulling from to basically pay for all the upfront cost. Well, that's what they pull from, and that's the collateral that they use to basically say, we're going to be able to set aside this much money for the district. On the next couple of slides, you'll see that these are actual costs from your bill, and I don't have it's hard for me to see because I don't have my glasses, but you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars per site into this program every single month. So this is a monthly charge. So we've got 3 of the 4 schools. We couldn't, for some reason, they wouldn't give us the last school, but we've got 3 or 4 schools already identified of how much you're paying in. One school alone is over $3,000, right? So what we're trying to do is access those dollars the district is already paying into it, use the technology that they'll let us get access to that's already pre-approved, and install those items here on site to make sure that it works to your satisfaction and their specification, okay? So yeah, your total right now just across 3 schools is about $3,620.76, okay? So that's basically the fund we're trying to get into to basically upgrade the facilities that we're talking about, okay? And that's it. Okay. There are 4 contracts that are available for the district now to sign. Just so you know, also too, Napa Community College down the road, we're actually going to be at the board meeting on the 21st next week. They've got about $2.7 million that we're doing this exact same content for them. Half of it is lighting, refrigeration, and air conditioning. The other half is EV charging and maybe some funds to help them fix the solar system that didn't work. So bottom line is there's other things that could come after this to help the district save more money after you go through this first phase, which is the reduction phase, okay?
Okay. Trustees, any questions?
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I feel like this second time has really helped me grasp the project a little bit better, so thank you very much for coming back. On the dimmers, is there additional expense to that, or does it just happen when the installation process?
Usually it's not like rampant, it's not 100% of the
Right.
places, right? So what we will try to do is just, our thing is we want to make sure that you're happy, right?
Okay.
So there is a fund that we have have like a clause of a couple points that we either invoice for less, or we use that to do the dimmers or sensors in the closets or what have you to make sure that it's
Okay.
the way you want it.
Yeah, because that is, with the new lighting, to your point, when you were saying everything is brighter, there is great benefit to being able, particularly like students may be feeling overloaded with light, or it's a hot day and you need to be able to just chill those lights out a little bit, so I would encourage us to really consider that where needed. Oh my gosh, did I just lose my second question? Oh, I think you clarified this the first time, but fixtures are reusable. It's the internal guts, if you will, that have to be retrofitted with the new bulbs, correct?
Yeah, you do have some schools that have brand new fixtures, and you've
Okay.
got some schools where they didn't give us, it didn't have enough savings, so they gave us like a retrofit kit to go inside the existing shell or the
Right.
hole, right?
Okay.
We're not touching any of the seismic, so it won't trigger any of that, all that seismic stuff is already in the ceiling. So
Okay.
when we retrofit the fixture, we're removing the bulbs, which again is the expensive piece because you can't get them anymore. The ballast, which if you can get them while you can because
Right.
you can't get them anymore. The tombstones, which are also the little ceramic ends that are the placeholders, you can't get those anymore, right? So we're getting rid of all that stuff to get that out of your hair.
Right.
And then you have a whole brand-new, pretty much system inside your system to make sure that it works for the next decade at least.
Okay. And if any of those parts fail, and I apologize that it's probably in the internal writings of this contract, but it's, what's the warranty on that, if those retrofitted parts fail?
Yes, so you have, well, one, there's a 12-month labor warranty.
Okay.
Okay, and so typically with the new technology, there's what they call the infinite mortality, which you will see within about the first 3 months, which ones are going to fail out of the box.
Right.
Industry standard is about 2%. I
Okay.
think we've got about 7,000 lamps going through the district, right, through the proposals we gave you guys. So that's like 140 lamps, let's say, right?
Okay.
Last year, our percentage of failure was 0.5%, a 0.5% out of the box.
Okay.
All right, so we do the 12 months labor to make sure that if it poops out early, that we basically come back and fix it so you guys don't have to touch it, okay? Now, the material itself, depending upon which ones are inside and outside and which ones are what have you, some are 5, some are 7, some are 10 years, right? And so we could give the district, we will give you a breakdown to show you which ones those are, right? So that way you can understand what that is, okay? Sure.
Any other questions?
I have two. In looking at what we paid into PPP, am I maybe guessing it's the high school that has such a high amount with their stadium lights? And, because it's such a huge difference. Is that probably why that one's so much higher?
To be honest, I'm not totally certain which one, I don't believe they gave us the high school. I believe that the $3,000 one was the middle school. So it's the high school is the big one, which is the one that we've been asking them for months to give it to us, and we knew this was coming, but they gave us 3 of the 4, because the information that you guys had was like a spreadsheet with all the usage and what have you, so we had to do a special request, and they just kept sitting on their thumbs.
That's through PG&E, you mean?
That's through PG&E, correct.
Oh, it's just interesting, you have $96, $358, and then $3,164. That's a huge jump.
Correct.
Okay, and my second question is, so you've done all this research and work and compiled all this. Have we spent money, how, Dr. Bang, are we in for so much right now? Like, have we already invested X amount of dollars to get to this point where we are today? Okay.
0.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we don't get paid anything to do anything until it's done, installed, you're happy, and you sign off in writing that says you're happy.
Okay.
And then they don't pay us for like 90 days after that. And if you don't get the savings, they don't pay us either. So that's our risk of participating in the program. And that's why there's only about 5 entities that do different bits and pieces. We're the only entity that does all of it. And because it's not for the faint of heart, and you better know what you're doing or you don't get paid. So we started the program in 2007 down in San Diego when it was a concept program, and we've been doing it ever since. And we, like I said, about 70% of all of PG&E contracts, we do most all of them.
But when the money is due, it's due in one lump sum? No? Okay, great, just making sure.
So maybe that's my question. How does that look? What is how do we disperse money, and how often will we disperse money out?
So every single bill, you're just going to pay your normal bill.
Okay.
So your normal bill, and just for reference, so for every $100 of savings, which we've broken it out by school district,
Right.
every single month has, let's say $100 in savings. They're going to take $95 and pay it into the program towards all the work that got done, and they're going to give you $5. So you actually do get a slight discount on your bill for joining the program, and then they will tell you this much of every bill goes into pay for the program. Now, your monthly budget stays the same for what you're paying at the time they wrote it. Now, realize, if we save 45% at the elementary school, your 14% rate increase is still coming. So that 55% left over that we're not touching is subject to those rate increases. As soon as we are done, the items that we touch are not affected by that, because we got rid of 75% of it, right? Which is usually the lighting is about 25 to 35% of your entire load of each school. Refrigeration is about 15 to 25%, and HVAC is the rest. So you guys do have an HVAC program going in. There are some HVAC units that was not being affected by the CalShape program, I think is the program you guys are using to replace the HVAC. Anyways, you have a big HVAC job going. There was other HVAC units that were not part of that scope that we tried to get PG&E to pay for. It pays for itself in under 3 years. I did give Kay a proposal to know what that cost would be, in case you wanted to do that, just because it's additional savings that the district could get, but it's an out-of-pocket, which we're focused on no out-of-pocket for this phase. Okay.
So just to reiterate, there's no out-of-pocket, so I'm not going to come back to the board and ask for funding. It's going to be our monthly bills. We will continue to pay that. The savings is what's paying for this program. But again, keep in mind, PG&E will constantly raise, their rates will constantly increase. So this program will help us to, ensure that when the rate increase does hit, we've got the savings to offset some of that.
Okay.
And then theoretically, using new lighting, if you will, LED light, is going to be just in itself energy efficient and consume less energy. So our bills, while they're still going to be seeing a percentage increase, we're not necessarily paying for more expensive electricity because we've now installed energy efficient lighting. Okay, sorry, I just had to I feel like I'm doing a book report and I'm saying this out loud, but just so that I understand it, right? That's kind of, okay,
Correct.
perfect.
And the other thing too is realize that most lighting maintenance, bulbs, ballasts, tombstones, light lenses, what have you, that's a budgeted item that you guys pay for every year. Take that money, invest it somewhere else because you don't have it anymore. It's gone. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So, good evening. So, that was my point.
Oh, sorry.
He said it better than I did. Literally, tomorrow will be like my 2-year anniversary here, and the lighting here it's hard to triage because so many fixtures are old. I have a great team. We do the best we can, but it's usually a reactionary thing. Just being honest, we're good at it, but we just can't keep up. The awesome benefit too is like we literally start back over. So not only will they take all the bulbs that we get charged to get rid of, like it's just part of it. And the custodians are changing out light bulbs. Summertime coming up, I mean, we're going to have probably 200 light bulbs alone that we get changed out. And it's just, we're doing the best we can.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Yes. Very helpful.
So I have a quick question. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is the second time I think so. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So my question would be, you mentioned something, the lifespan of the program. What is that? What exactly does that mean?
So they create a return on investment time period where the energy savings pays for itself. The collateral the utility company uses is they basically quantify the savings, and they say, okay, you're going to save $100,000 over the next 10 years. To get that savings, what they do is they say, okay, if we pay for this up front, so the district doesn't have to, they break it up to Dr. Ving's point, they break it up into bite-sized chunks on a monthly basis to where your bill, the intention, it's not a guarantee, but the intention is to keep your bill neutral, to where there's no budget increase, there's no operating cost increase, there's no utility cost increase, the savings pays for itself. They quantify and calculate every site has a different payback. Most of them are anywhere from 7 to 9 years, right? And that's just because elementary school, you have less hours because the kids aren't there as long. High school, you have more hours because you have more activities. So usually, you've got an expedited time period of payback where the usage is what pays for it. So the more you use them, the more savings you generate, which basically pays for the project faster. The less you use them, they create a very conservative approach to make sure that no matter what, over a maximum of 10 years, the items will pay for themselves, so that way there's no negative impact to your fiscal budget. Right? So each one has its own kind of footprint.
And then, so what happens then after the 10 years?
You get all the savings.
Okay.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, really, what we typically see is that you guys save, so if you have an increased schedule, you've got more kids in class, you're operating more hours, they don't come to you every month and say, hey, you saved more energy, you owe me one. The program is a fixed monthly payment that's baked into your bill every single month. Like I said, the premise is to keep it bill neutral, and the savings typically is conservative, where they don't let us claim all the savings, because they want to make sure that it doesn't have a negative impact on your monthly budget. So we can only use a percentage of the actual savings versus what's reality. And usually reality is about 20% more savings is realized than what they actually claim on paper, right?
Okay.
It sounds like a long-term legacy green principle to endorse.
It is. And Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, but also within the duration of the program, so that those 10 years, we cannot close down any of the schools that we have entered into this agreement with. Otherwise, our contract becomes null, and then the responsibility becomes the district's to pay up front. Am I correct to pay for that?
Yes, so if you were going to shut a whole school down in 10 years or less, they're going to come to you and say, hey, we had a 9-year savings program here. You shut it down at year 7. So before you could open up another school in that replacement, they'd say you owe us 2 years of savings, which equates to this much money, right? Now, have they ever done that? No. So I can tell you that we did 272 sites for CAL FIRE, and PG&E burned down 100 of them. So at the end, PG&E was like, well, you owe me, and they're like, no, you burned down my school, or my firehouse, right? And so really, they were kind of like, all right, like, take my toys, and PG&E licks their wounds, and that's all kind of happens, right? We've seen it happen in commercial spaces. We've seen it happen, I'm going to say, I think the last number I saw was like 1.57% of the people that participate in the program have defaulted. It's such a good program that if you guys feel like you are going to be operating, there's no lose unless, to Dr. Ving's point, you're going to shut that down, right? And if you're not going to shut it down, your future dollar is worth more than today. It's going to cost you twice as much to operate.
And then my final comment is, I'm interested in that solar unit funding, or kind of I'm certainly not doing any kind of directing or anything, but it's kind of interesting to learn more about that, if it's something that we would help our district at some point. Yeah, but it sounds like that the timing is tight with the July deadline, yeah.
We already have so the biggest thing that we would need for that is the interval data. So what they do is they bill you in every 15 minutes, okay? They passed a new rate in April of 2023 for every dollar. So if you don't use all your power in that 15 minutes, let's say you use, half your power, and you give them half of what you produced. Well, if you gave them $1 today, they'd say, thank you so much, I'm going to give you 25 cents for that dollar. So that was the rate that you're in right now. So if you start a program, you should not do a solar project unless you have a battery, because the battery acts as your piggy bank. And so what you do is you have the battery then for all your excess power that you don't use, goes in your piggy bank, and then you use all that power during the day to operate from the solar, and then at night your most expensive time period is from 4 to 9 p.m. So then what happens is you go off the grid, go to your battery and say, all right, piggy bank, I want you to power us during this time period, which avoids the 3 times 3x rate, and then at 9:01 you go back onto the grid, and then you use power through the evening, and then come sunup, it charges everything up, and just rinse, repeat over and over and over. Yeah. So there's some complexities to it, but there's more money coming for that. But you've got to, like I said, we have the data. We can do a very basic design to make sure that you guys in the district are compliant. That way, heaven forbid, whether you use us or somebody else, at least you have a conceptual design which allows you to at least participate and use those dollars, heaven forbid, they go away, right? Okay. And so we can do that already because we already have the data, right? Which is the next conversation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, I appreciate
again.
it. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we are going to move on to 7H, presentation on the St. Helena Opportunities Program, and I would like to welcome Mrs. Rebecca Rocha and Mr. Nick Joy. Actually, it's not Mr., it's Dr. Joy.
Good evening, members of the board and district office staff. We are thrilled to be able to give you this exciting report about the SHOP program, St. Helena Opportunities Program. I'm Rebecca Rocha. I'm the administrator of that program, and then with me is Dr. Nick Joy, who's the speech and language pathologist for secondary and SHOP, and he's the transition lead. I also wanted to give acknowledgments to Mary O'Donnell, the SHOP teacher, who helped us with this presentation. She couldn't be here tonight, but she definitely is a big part of the program. Next slide, please. Sorry. Just a little, I won't read you all of these bullets, but a little bit about what is a transition program. It is mandated by the Individuals with Disabilities Act, so every school district is obligated to provide this program for adults with more impactful disabilities ages 18 to 22. It's really important because it prepares students for successful employment and independence before they leave really what is just the safety net of a school district, and then they enter into the world of transition.
And so our SHOP mission has always been to provide the skills of education, employment, and independent living for students with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. And so we want to create these opportunities leading to gainful employment. And we are now on around year 5 of the program.
That's great.
And so a little bit more about our program, which is, oh, thank you.
Sorry, we got a clicker, but I
Got the
don't think it
clicker. Perfect. It's designed for students ages 18 to 22 who've completed high school with a certificate of completion, and they're ready for transition services as they move into adulthood. We're located in 2 classrooms on the corner of the St. Helena Elementary School campus. And right now we have students we've had students from St. Helena Unified, Calistoga, Middletown Unified School District, and they've all participated in our program. Currently, we have 6 students. We possibly may have 8 students next year. And our support team, again, you said Mary O'Donnell, myself as the SLP, and our paraeducators, Dawn Modal and Brenda Fernandez, and Kate Scudero, our district nurse, our administrator, and we also have Nikki Myers and Rosie Alfizar as our secretaries and office team leaders.
This is just a list of some of the partnerships that we have had in the past and currently the program is partnered with Hall Winery, We Care Animal Rescue, Trader Joe's, Students Take Adaptive PE at Napa Valley College, and the other or agencies or companies listed on that list are people that we've partnered with in the past.
And so currently, we have partnered with Hall Winery, and we're using an internship type program with them. And a huge thank you to the incredible team. I have to put my glasses on because I want to thank them to make this possible at Hall Winery is Amy Barbary, the Director of People Development, Mariah Mutrix, the Director of Hospitality, Jeff Dreyfus, the Visitor Center Manager, and Ali Del Rosario, the Private Experience Manager. And what's also interesting and wonderful is that Hall Winery went out and developed a specialized training program about SHOP and our students for their staff, and they provide a liaison for each work session. And so with this internship program, we now have had a student who has secured employment on the weekends at Hall Winery, and I'd like to introduce Eli Carpy-Williard to speak about his experience.
Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Williard. I am a student in the SHOP program. This program is important to me because it has helped me learn how to be independent and gain confidence and getting ready for the real world. We worked on everything from life skills, finding jobs that I like. One of the best parts of my journey right now is Hall Winery. I had to go through application and interview process. I have learned how to take transportation after school. I help polish the glass, set out dishes, set up tours and tastings. It has given me the confidence to apply for additional jobs. Working at the winery and working at Hall Winery has taught me how to be a part of a team and how to take pride in a job well done. Plus, it's a beautiful place every day, to be every day. Thank you to my teachers and my family and the team at Hall Winery believing in me. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
I know that Eli was at work this evening before he came to this meeting that we asked him to present at. And they might want to ask you some questions at the end. Yeah, so another place, where the students are working is at We Care Animal Rescue. I have to give a shout out to Nikki Myers, our office lead, because she said, there's an animal rescue in St. Helena, and so we went and explored that last summer, and then Mary and Nick reached out to the staff there. And one of the things that we really appreciate is that they have just been able to really set up jobs and interest for the students with a wide variety of skills and abilities. So they've really been able to tailor what the different students can do there at We Care, and there's just some pictures there for you.
Great.
And then within our own program on site, we have, and we've just started, the beginning stages of our living lab. And it is a dedicated functional replica of a modern hotel apartment suite, and includes a bedroom, living area, dining space, and we want to make it serve like a real-world training environment. So everyone learns those essential skills for hospitality, housekeeping, meal preparation, guest services, communication. But it all aligns with the individual transition plan and their goals for independent living and employment. And a big, big thank you to the Napa Valley Education Foundation for helping fund our reception and bedroom area. Because this is just starting, we're getting it started, so we're still looking and we're hoping to partner with future groups in funding our other areas of the lab. So.
Love it.
And so here are some pictures. The next slide, this is our lab. We're actually creating it. So our students built the beds. We've put up the different walls, and it's been really fun.
Oh, what a great experience.
And we also want to thank Dr. Vang and Mr. Heller and Mr. Flores and the staff at the elementary school for their support of the space and working with the team to really allow the program to have this living lab, excuse me. Living and learning.
Yep. And then within that, we have started micro businesses, which are student-run ventures designed to teach the different skills for students with disabilities. And so one of ours is the soap micro business. And so they've been making handmade soaps and lavender sachets with this. And Also, taking public transportation, going to the different school sites, and selling their products, and working with the other classes within the school district. They've been going, teaching the students, working with the students on how they make the soaps. And so now we're also exploring different places that we can sell these items, but also how to use, because we're cash only, so what other things we can explore for non-cash payments and how we can go about that. And then the floral micro business, which has been a really fun venture, partnering with Trader Joe's of Napa, who donates the flowers. And now we are able to work with hands-on experience looking at horticulture, the retail operations, and then customer service. But we've also a big, huge thank you to the St. Helena Public Schools Foundation for their support, which will now provide all of the materials to actually have a working floral studio. So we're very, very excited for that. And we've so far have created bouquets for district employees, for events for the school district, staff appreciation, make your own bouquets. And we look forward to going out into the community and working with the different organizations and businesses in providing any floral needs.
So I believe it was the last board meeting. I don't know if you remember the flowers, but they were provided by SHOP. And also the DLAC, there's a picture of the DLAC reclassification ceremony. Those bouquets were created by SHOP students. We also have been, students have been involved in some different community events. Since last school year, they've been participating in the Special Olympics in Sonoma County. So that happens 3 times a year that they're joining all of the high schools in transition programs for these 3 events. There's track and field, there's basketball, and there's soccer, so throughout the school year. Mrs. O'Donnell, the teacher, also worked with Mila's preschool. They refinished some chairs. You can see one of our students who's here in the audience, Parker. Parker, do you want to wave at everybody? He helped refinish those chairs for Mila's preschool. And like Mr. Joy said, they also have gone to the other special day classes in the district to make soap with students. So future goals and program development that we are hoping for, we would love to develop some sort of internship with St. Helena Unified departments. There are many school districts that are able to take on internships with many of the classified staff, and that's something that we would love to pursue. The classroom is located on the, I'm so bad with street names, the corner of Oak and, is it Adams? So you know that corner area, we would love to develop that outdoor space to make it more appealing for adults, like besides picnic tables and maybe some recreational things for adults that age. We would love to partner, and we've started conversations with the St. Helena Boys and Girls Club about our students staying on after school until they're 22, as long as they're students in our district. And we're always looking for other community partnerships for these different workability or job experiences for our students. So with that, we do have some gifts for you, but we also want to see if you have any questions. And we would also love to invite you to come see the Living Lab. You would be very impressed with the space. Any questions? Any questions for Eli?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a question or comment. So the other night, or I guess it was just last night, when they did the little makers market at the elementary school, and I guess the parent group's talking about next year maybe doing it as a Christmas, like a Christmas bazaar, Christmas market, and I automatically thought that would be fun for your students to maybe be able to sell their soaps or their products, whatever would be in season at something like that. And I think they did like cash or Venmo, so you'd figure something out. But I thought of you guys, that would be fun.
So I just want to say that in a time in our lives where things feel hard and draining, this has been the most inspirational and uplifting presentation that we've had at our dais in a while, sorry, it just was really, I mean, this is just so amazing, and thank you for the invitation, because I would be great to go there and to see this, and, I don't know, I'm a little bit lost for words, but other than just feeling so uplifted and the work that they're doing. Eli, I think that was great what you told us. I guess, what is your favorite part about your job at Hall?
Polish the glass and set up the tables for the tours and the tasting.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and I wanted to comment, Dr. Bank brought us all a soap, so we're all very excited and appreciative of our new soaps.
We'll be getting a second soap tonight, so
Oh.
you can gift it or promote shop with a gift of soap.
And those the Mila's preschool chairs, are those made for, or are they sold to them for, like, families to purchase, or?
So Mrs. O'Donnell's son happens to go to Mila's, and I
Okay.
believe it was just a project that
Okay.
they put together, so they're for the preschool.
Oh,
They
that's
just needed
great.
They
Yeah.
needed a little freshen up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Thank you for all the work you do with that program, to your team.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
absolutely.
Oh. Thank you, Eli. You're gorgeous. Oh, they're bouquets.
Watch out,
Yes. Eli, thank you so much for being here. I know you have a busy day, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Did you make this? Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you.
My neighbor works at home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the first time we're receiving flowers. I feel very special. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like if we could set up a tour.
Right here.
That would be great.
Thank you. Look at how beautiful that is. Thank you. Thank you so much. My hands are wet. I would like to, how about a fist bump? Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much.
These are awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Rocha and Dr. Joy. Thank you. All righty. We've completed presentations. We're going to take about a 5-minute comfort break, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to continue with student learning and achievement. 8A, written report on the 2025-26 local control and accountability plan, federal addendum. And I'd like to call on Mrs. Araceli Roma Flores.
Good evening, President Simon, Board of Trustees, and Dr. McClay. So it's really hard to follow that presentation, right? Next, note to self, like bring a tissue box next time. That was just wonderful and inspirational. I do want to do a shout out though to Principal Rebecca Rocha. I don't know if you all know, but she actually requested to oversee and support, to take on SHOP in addition to doing the fabulous job she does as a principal. So it was just really great work that she's done in these last 2 years, and it's just wonderful. Yes. Okay, so it's going to be hard to follow that act, but the federal addendum is a plan that must share with the board annually, and it's a plan for how our district is going to use federal dollars, our title dollars, to support our LCAP goals and to support our students through the LCAP goals. So the students that we are charged to support with the title funds are our unduplicated students. So students that are English learners, students that are socioeconomically disadvantaged, homeless, and foster youth. So that's what that is. So it doesn't require board approval. It's just a report to the board on how we plan to use those title funds. Any questions about that before we move on to the LCAP? Okay. All right. And so moving on to the St. Helena Unified School District 2026-2027 LCAP draft. This is a draft. This is the draft for our year 3 LCAP. So it's a 3-year plan. We just completed our year 2 of the LCAP, and next year will be our final year in this process for this LCAP. And what we're doing is, oops, I forget I have the controller. So we are required to share this update with the board, and at the next meeting, we're going to ask you to approve it. It is a draft, however, and so I just want to call out that there can be some minor changes to it at the next meeting, because, you know, we're going to have a hearing tonight, and we're still soliciting feedback. We also submitted this plan to the Napa County Office of Education. They have to give us their seal of approval, so they might have some recommendations for us that we'll need to include for the next edition of the LCAP. So this LCAP, though, we did look at the data points that are available to us now. As you could see in the report, there's a lot of information that is still outstanding. Our students are currently testing with STAR and with the LCAP. But we do want to call out where we did see growth. But in terms of our CAS reports or results and our STAR results, those will be coming soon. I do want to highlight one data point, though, that we are able to see, is that we had 35, in our baseline, we had 35 long-term English learners, and the California dashboard identifies long-term English learners as students that have been in this U.S. system for 7 years and have not been reclassified. And so we started off with 35 long-term ELs, and we are now down to 8. So for goal 1, we're looking to see like what we can do to support our students. The students that we are called out to support are our long-term ELs. We have to address in the LCAP any areas that we are red on the dashboard, and where we were red on the dashboard were our long-term ELs for language arts, math, and suspensions. So that student group was red in those 3 areas, and so we have to make sure that our LCAP is addressing that subgroup. And but as we know, that when we do things to improve for one student group, it really has a ripple effect and supports all other students as well. We also had a red on the dashboard for socioeconomically disadvantaged students in the graduation rate. So those are the areas that we need to address. So what we have in our services and actions and services for the 26-27 LCAP are purchasing supplemental English language development curriculum, exploring AVID for elementary students, providing additional time to support newcomer students and multilingual learners, and that's through staffing. We're hoping to provide more hours at both of our sites that are more heavily impacted with newcomers, the high school and the middle school, and providing additional targeted learning to support students requiring Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports. So making sure that our students that need more time to learn the essential standards are getting that. And then for professional development, all sites will continue to participate in learning to deepen the PLC work. All sites will participate in learning opportunities to support English learners. And then for Goal 2, so these are some of the highlights. In our spring 2026 data, we got that back, so we have that to report. Again, our goal was a hefty goal, right? We want 90% in our LCAP, that's our target. And so these are the areas where we met that 90%, which is a very high expectation, right? So it's wonderful that we were able to accomplish that in these areas. So high expectations at SHES, at St. Helena Elementary School is at 90%, no substance abuse at RLS, 97%, St. Helena High School, 93%. And then for local data, targets met, all grade levels or departments took at least 3 district-sponsored field trips. That has been an LCAP goal, and this is the first year that were able to achieve that goal. So for Goal 2, these are areas that I wanted to call out. Although we didn't meet the 90% target, we still had really nice growth, and so I just wanted to call out those areas where we saw some growth in our California Healthy Kids survey. And areas to watch and consider. These are some of the areas where we had a little bit of a decline. And so we are just going to watch those, and and also next year we hope to have more actionable data. We're really wanting to make sure that we're using the Kelvin. I know that RLS is using the Kelvin and is getting really good data, so it's different than what the California Healthy Kids Survey reports, and so it's kind of nice to have another tool, another measuring piece to be able to assess how well we're doing with our school culture. And so we're hoping that all schools will be able to use the Kelvin next year. It was a goal for this year, and we just weren't able to pull it off district-wide, but RLS is kind of the champion for that, so I want to piggyback on that. And then what we're planning to do for Goal 2 is continue to understand our students' experiences. We want to continue with the empathy interviews, equity walks, focus groups, Kelvin survey, behavior academies. Those have started up this year as a result of the MTSS work, and student mentors and ambassadors. And then partnerships, investigate other partners to provide wraparound services. And those include, so one of the areas where we needed more support this year, and we just didn't have partners to do this, is substance abuse treatment and prevention services. That was one thing that in the past we used to have with Aldea, and Aldea wasn't able to provide that service this year, so we're trying to find additional partners to help us out in that area. We also have a lot of families, especially in these times, that are really struggling financially and are, asking for support with like food and gas money, or, they're just having a really hard time making ends meet. And so they're reaching out, and, we're trying to find how we can be more supportive of families with connecting them with some community resources. And then we also, therapy. Some of our students need intensive therapy, and for the most part, we've been able to meet that need, but we do have, I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 students at RLS that are on the wait list for therapy right now. So we do need some additional partners for that. And then develop a comprehensive MTSS model. So we have been working as a district. This year we formed the District MTSS Task Force, and we're really just trying to take stock of how each school is doing their MTSS program, and trying to get more alignment district-wide. And so there is a lot of alignment. We have some work to do still district-wide, but we have found where those gaps are, and we're really trying to support a system of, multi-tiered system of support for our students. And then professional development, provide culturally responsive training to staff and trauma-informed practices. So that was one of the things that came about as an area that we wanted to address, and the reflective tool that we'll be presenting next. And so we're trying to figure out how we can bring some of that training to our staff. And then attending the RTI conference, we think it's really important to continue to grow and expand our MTSS services and deepen that work. And so we are really interested in continuing to learn as a committee or as a team at the RTI conference, the Response to Intervention Conference. And then for goal 3, these are our targets met. 100, well, I won't read those to you because we're going to be here late, but so these are the areas that we did meet our goal. And then this is where we saw some growth. Parent participation, Parent Square interaction data. The Parent Square interaction data, it's 41% parent interaction, but that's assuming that there is a 2-parent household. And so if we consider that, we're about 80%. So the Parent Square interaction has been really impressive, almost too impressive, because some families are complaining about you know, about just the over-communication. But we're really proud of that. And then areas to address for Goal 3, build parent capacity and agency by providing programs such as Project Inspire. Project Inspire is a program that our DLAC representatives learned about at CABE, at the California Association of Bilingual Educators, and just came back really excited about that, and wanted to make sure that we included that in our LCAP. And then the Latino Family Literacy Project, a college-going culture, and RLS is planning on providing that for our district. And he's done that before. They've done that before at RLS, and it was a huge success, and so we want to continue that this coming year. And then providing more training opportunities on how to use Parent Square for all families, because we want to make sure that our incoming families, new families to our district, understand how to use it. And creating online resources. This is an area that Selene has discussed, trying to create online resources so that we have a bank of all of the offerings that we've provided to families virtually, so that they can click on the website and get the information that they need. And then budget for food and childcare. So we put that in the LCAP because we want to make sure that we can provide that for all of our events, and so we included that as an action and service. Any questions?
Any questions, trustees?
Depending on if these answers would take a while, it could be, you could get them to us later, just in terms of time, but I was just curious, I think it was goal 1, extending AVID to the elementary level, just understanding what that is. I assume it's different than the secondary level, but.
Yes, so there's 2 different programs that we're looking at. There's the AVID, foundational AVID piece for elementary, that, like organization. But then there's another component that the elementary school is interested in, which is more tied to English language development. I believe it's called Excel, AVID Excel. And so it's a way to make sure that students are accessing the curriculum through additional language supports. So there's 2 different programs.
So then that is more EL focused versus AVID, which is open to?
So AVID, so the Excel is EL specific. The AVID piece is not. Right. It could be school-wide for organizational skills.
And then one other thing you mentioned in one of the slides, and this doesn't need to be shared here, but I'm just curious what the newcomer experience is, what it is by site, because it's very different. What it looks like within the, I guess it's 1 year, is it 12 months?
Yes.
Anyway, you don't have to share that with us now, but I was just curious what that looks like differentiated by site, because that was something that I remember. I wasn't at the table at the LCAP Community Forum, but it was something I wanted to learn more about. Please.
Yeah, that would be another presentation for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, we could totally do that. Mhm.
I just have a quick question. In Goal 2, under professional development, provide culturally responsive training to staff and/or trauma-informed practices. I have no idea what that means. It's probably, can you just kind of give me an idea of what that means?
So culturally responsive, it's really about making sure that the students are seeing themselves in the curriculum. So like the literature that we're reading, does it represent them? Are we making sure that the questions that we're asking on test questions are not biased? So those kind of things. Mm-hmm.
Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you so much. And we will keep you right there for 8B, information on the California dashboard, local performance indicators.
So, is this it? Okay. So as part of the LCAP, we are required to measure our progress as a district. And so what we are required to do is we are required to use a self-reflection tool. And so what we've done is we've asked every instructional leadership team at each site to rank the district on the questionnaire. And then all of the sites submitted that to me, and we basically averaged the scores to get the district score. So it's all of the instructional leadership teams at each site that really gave this rating that you'll see. Okay, so in order to get a standard met on the California dashboard, we must engage in this process. And they look at the, it's actually 11 indicators. It used to be 10 and now it's 11. And we're going to just go over how we rated ourselves in each of those areas. So for qualified teachers, we have 100% of our teachers are considered qualified teachers. They all have the necessary credentials. Textbooks for all students. All students have the necessary textbooks and materials. All of our schools are considered clean and safe. And in priority 2, this is for implementation of academic standards and professional development. And they're looking at providing professional learning for all of these areas, content areas, aligned instructional materials, and supporting staff in delivering instruction. And you can see that we're either full implementation or full implementation and sustainability in all areas but math. We do have a 3 there, and we are in the process right now of our elementary team has just completed piloting one of the math curriculums. And next year, the middle school will participate in piloting 2 math curriculums, and the elementary team will pilot the second program that they've selected. So we understand why that's a 3, and we're hoping that that will eventually be a 4 or 5, ideally 5. And then for implementation of academic standards and professional development for these areas, again, we are at full implementation or full implementation and sustainability. And same for our support for teachers and administrators. And parental involvement and family engagement. For parental involvement and family engagement, we did have under professional learning, providing professional learning and support to teachers and principals to improve a school's capacity to partner with families. That was rated at a 3. And So that's an area that we need to look at. That's clearly a need that has been identified. And so we need to see how we can build something in. We need to do a little investigating in terms of what's out there for professional development, and try to find some time to build that in. It's, unfortunately, to be transparent, it's really hard to build everything in because we have limited time, and right now our focus area is math and language arts and serving our English learners. This is our parental involvement and family engagement ratings. And then our California Healthy Kids Survey strengths. The majority of students believe there are high expectations at school. The vast majority of our secondary students report no substance abuse. So those were our strengths and areas to address. Less than 50% of students believe there's meaningful participation at school. 64% of secondary students report low violence victimization, and less than 70% of secondary students believe they have a caring adult relationship. So it's just things to consider as we move forward. Course access, that was met. All students have access and are enrolled in a broad course of study. That's the 7 priority areas. Any questions?
Any questions, trustees? I have a quick question about that last slide with the 64%. So does that mean the rest of the students do experience it, or don't have a comment or do experience it?
So 64% of secondary students report low violence victimization, means that that percentage of students have not been victimized.
But the other percentage, does that include all those students have felt that way, or does it also, is part of that answer doesn't know?
No,
So, I mean, could I just assume that the rest have felt that way?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think mine tag on to you, Laura. The less than 70% of secondary students believe they have a caring adult relationship. Is that in the school system or just in their life?
I'd have to look at the question.
Okay.
I think it usually says they have it with a caring adult on campus is the way it's
School, okay.
phrased.
Okay.
And Mrs. Roma Flores, if I may, would you go back to the one category that had a 3 a couple of slides ago, right there? I had a couple of trustees ask me questions on this, and the first one there, providing professional learning and support to teachers and principals to improve a school's capacity to partner with families. Can you expand on that just a bit? Like, what, is the state wanting us to do professional development on, like, how to more successfully engage families? Okay.
Okay, exactly.
And like you said, like, well, what would that look like? Like, I don't know that I've seen much in that category.
Yeah, I think we'd have to do some research on that, to be honest.
Okay. Because I believe one slide further, we had a 5 in what looks almost identical to that in terms of supporting sites. Okay, and I know I had a couple questions, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that they haven't received that training, right? So it's like, they had to give it a 3 because we haven't dedicated time to that, but it hasn't really been a huge need. And so,
And that's not training on Parent Square and how to use it better to communicate, or features?
I mean, that could
I don't know.
help with respectful relationships.
I don't
but,
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of me interpreted that as like engagement, and we know that engagement is always a challenge. I mean, for a variety of reasons, for parental engagement, employment, family, health, all those things. So, but if the state's kind of requiring this and hasn't provided much framework, then we're kind of left scratching our heads a little bit.
I do believe Selena Robledo has done a fabulous job.
Yeah.
And she's really done a great job of making sure that families feel included and supported, and, so I feel like we're really removing barriers as a result of her work, and I know that all the principals are doing their principals' coffee chats, and, parents are coming and sharing their concerns or questions, and so we're providing a lot of opportunities for parents to be involved, and we're really trying to be supportive of them. DLAC, the LCAP Community Forum, I thought was a beautiful event, right? We had so many people in the room, and it was just great to get feedback. And I do want to make a call out, a concern that was brought to my attention within the last 24 hours about some of the parent feedback that we received, or educational partner feedback that we received. I know that there was some concern about a statement in there about ELD feeling like a holding pen, and that was offensive to some of our team. And, that was what the parents conveyed, or the educational partners. I don't know if it was a parent or if it was a student. Basically, what I did is I took all of the feedback from all of the tables, because you remember there was a recorder at each of the tables, and I basically put it into Gemini, and I said, can you synthesize this for me? And that's what came back as a concern. And so that was after, translation and a concern from our
It was in the
educational
notes from the table.
Yes.
The Spanish-speaking table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and it's, Jim Collins says, good to great that we've been reading as a team, a leadership team. We have to confront the brutal facts, right? And so if that's a perception out there, how do we change that perception? That's our responsibility.
Just one of the slides congratulated ourselves on low substance use self-report. I can just say that that is absolutely not the feeling I get from parents nor from students at the high school. So I wasn't going to say anything, but it's on the slide as a well done, but it's student reported, and I actually think that's something that is an issue at the high school from this year's feedback. So,
thank you.
And I wanted to thank you on the very large, not the PowerPoint, but I don't know how many pages the other document is, but this is the first year where I felt the comments in there were actually specific, targeted, not just generic year over year. I see the same content, so I had kind of stopped reading the document for a little while, in depth, I should say. I read them, but this is the first year in a while where I really learned a lot from reading the comment areas in each section, so thank you for the effort you put into that.
Thank you.
All right, we're not going to let you go quite yet. 8C, public hearing regarding the 2026-27 Local Control and Accountability Plan. Okay, Mrs. Romo Flores.
Yes, so we need to have a public hearing before we can bring it back to adoption at the next board meeting in June. And so, it's a public hearing, so if anybody has questions or...
Okay, here we go. The public hearing for the 2026-22 Local Control Accountability, 27th, Local Control Accountability Plan is now open at 8:21 p.m. Comments during the public hearing should be limited to the LCAP. However, we aim to hear from all who wish to be heard. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Trustees only on the 2026-27 LCAP. Okay, we thank you very much for your, no, we don't. Thank you very much. The public hearing is now closed at 8:23-ish. Do the trustees have any questions about the 2026-27 LCAP?
I do. Sorry. Well, I could tell the page number was 24, but it was the A to G completion rate goal. I wanted to clarify, from what I remember, our goal was to increase the A to G completion rate for all by 10% a year. The way it's written looks as if it's an increase by 10% over the 3 years. So I wanted to clarify, I thought it was every year because the starting point was, well, the overall was 46% in 2023. I would just like, this is a draft?
It is a draft.
So it would be nice to clarify, because my memory is 10% a year. And then also, the data that you share for the progress in 2024, 2025, we can't compare it because it has all and then a breakdown. The next year, it has all but no breakdown. And then the next year doesn't have all, just a breakdown. So if we could have that consistently filled in, just for us to be able to track the progress, I would appreciate that. And then I was confused because I thought I remember Principal Cinto saying that the high school was a 70% A to G last year, which couldn't be from this data. So just to have the data aligned would be, just to double check.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to 8D. Approval of the new novel for adoption at RLS Middle School. Mrs. Araceli Romo Flores.
Yes, the Science Department at RLS would like to incorporate the novel Orbital by Samantha Harvey into the 8th grade science curriculum. The book aligns with several of the science standards, which you can see there. The novel captures the human condition and our connection to the Earth through a scientific lens. It explores the physics of space travel and its effects on living organisms, the relationship between the Earth, Sun, and Moon, our place in the universe, Earth's geologic history, and the dynamics of weather, climate, and human impact. And so we would like, pending the board's review, the novel will be available for public viewing and community input at the district office. And should no objection arise, the board will be asked to formally approve the text for the 26-27 school year and beyond at the June board meeting.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
I do, just a quick question.
Sure.
So what is being used currently? Is there anything in this?
Yeah, just the curriculum. I don't believe
Just the
there's-
curriculum, so no,
yes.
there's not a novel. This is just, it's kind of a supplemental then?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, perfect.
My question is just to make sure that this book has gone in front of the RLS parent group, just to make sure that they're aware.
So it goes out for viewing so if the board approves, we will put it out for viewing for the whole district, and they can have one at their office as well, but we will have one here at the district office.
Before we approve. Isn't this a
No, this is just.
information, right? So I guess what I would like to ask is if at least the parent group is some sort of awareness, because otherwise they're not going to know to come look at the book to see if they have an issue.
Yeah, we will do a parent square notification to all.
Okay.
Oh, great.
The entire district, because we need to
Okay.
make sure that everybody knows that it's being considered for adoption.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, we will do a notification, letting them know where it is, where they can come view it. I don't know if you have an extra copy of the ROS so that people can look at it there as well? You don't? Okay. Okay. I purchased one for the district office, so I'll have it here.
Great, doesn't it usually sit out right at the top of the stairs? Yeah, okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the novel Orbital as, no?
Because it's just mislabeled, President Simon.
It is mislabeled, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. We're going to move into communications, 9A Superintendent Report. Dr. McClay.
All right, my comments keep getting shorter as the night goes on because you still have a lot of agenda items to cover, so I'm just going to hit three quick things. First off, a huge thank you to our staff. I know there's only a few here left, but those watching or hear about it, May is Staff Appreciation Month. We've done a small activity to kick it off event last week. Our PSGs have been doing some amazing things for each of the sites and honoring our staff. May and the first week of June are hard times in education. It's stressful. There's a lot to do to get those kids across the finish line and a lot of extra pressure on folks. So I just wanted to give a public shout out that we recognize that. That ties into my next point, which is this is also the season of celebration. And there are so many events between now, they started about 2 weeks ago, almost every night. So we're seeing a lot of each other. I want to thank the board for going to so many things, as well as staff. But really, this is the season where so much of the hard work, the collective efforts of the year are validated. You saw it with the chorus tonight. You saw it with the SHOP program, kind of the fruits of our labors, right? So just enjoy, and I always tell staff the same thing, like really take stock in what these students have accomplished as a result of the adult mentorship and guidance and teaching that they've been receiving really all the way down since they were little. So lots of events coming up. And then my final message, there's lots of ways to say it, but really it's to staff, and it's don't sweat the small stuff, right? With the end of year and all the celebrations comes extra stress and getting it all done, but really keeping our minds on we're here to celebrate our student accomplishments, let the minutia go, we'll deal with it later, and really just kind of take stock in the moment.
Thank you. It's always an important reminder. 9B, Chief Business Officials Budget Update. Dr. Vane.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, President Simon. So I have 3 items to update the board tonight. First, I'm going to start off with a summary of the outstanding general obligation bonds. At last month's meeting, if you recall, I shared the final audit reports for both Measure B and Measure C general obligation bonds. And what I shared with the board was that although both bonds have been fully spent, the community will continue to pay for these bonds through 2038, and you see the chart right here showing that the last year of maturity would be 2038. So here's the table. Also, I've been speaking with our financial advisors who have shared with me that some of these bonds, some of these series will be eligible for refinancing to help lower interest rates and taxpayer costs. So I will continue to explore that with our financial advisors, and I will keep the board updated when those opportunities come to fruition. I'll bring them back and let you know, because we want to lower those interest rates and costs for our taxpayers. The second thing I wanted to share is that I've also been told by our financial advisors who have this S&P Global Ratings for us that the district is actually we are maintaining our AAA credit rating, and it is the highest possible designation on a scale ranging from D to AAA. So S&P Global Ratings is one of the big 3 credit rating agencies alongside Moody's and Fitch, and in order to get the AAA credit rating, our finances is a huge factor in that, right? It's all about, your reserves. Do you have a healthy reserve? Do you have any structural imbalances? And so I just want to remind the board that this AAA credit rating, if there's a structural budget imbalance or a significant drawdown of our reserves, it could lead to downgraded ratings. So I do want to just make sure that we're all aware of that. So again, it's going to be critical that we ensure that we have great credit rating, just in case we need to borrow any monies in the future. We have this rating that will allow us to do so. The last thing I wanted to share, I want to continue having this conversation around property taxes, especially within the district's boundaries. At the January 8th board meeting, if you recall, John Tudor was here with Josh and Kelly from the county office, and John had shared with us that the wine and hospitality industries are not doing as well. They're facing significant headwinds due to oversupply and waning demand. And John had estimated that approximately 20% of the district's property tax revenue is generated by the wine industry. I have a chart here that I wanted to share with the board. This is a chart that I was able to obtain from our financial advisors because they worked with us in our last two bond measures. This is information that they have readily available, so they were willing to share this with me. And the data here is for fiscal years 2015-16 to this year, and it shows that the assessed valuation of the top winery taxpayers has remained consistent, representing approximately 15 to 17% of the district's total assessed valuation. So when you look at this top 20, the list of the top 20 taxpayers, you'll notice all but one is in the wine industry, wine and hospitality. So on this next chart, this is a chart that also shows that we have the wine industry they've been pretty they're consistent. They're right there at that 15 to 17%, as I mentioned. However, when you look at the top 20 taxpayers on this chart here, you'll notice that the year-to-year assessed valuation data for our top taxpayers, and just in the last two fiscal years, the assessed valuation for the top winery taxpayers grew only by 0.22%, while the assessed valuation for all top taxpayers combined nearly remained flat at a 0.01% increase. So this marginal growth among the district's primary taxpayers likely contributed to the overall slowdown in the AV growth district-wide. At the March board meeting, I also shared an article that Gallo plans to close one of their production facility and lay off workers. If we go back to the previous chart of the top 20 tax payers, you'll notice that Gallo is right there on number 4. A colleague in this room recently also shared an article titled, "How Much Does Regulatory Compliance Cost Napa Wine Grape Growers?" It was a recent study done by Cal Poly, and the research reveals that staggering regulatory costs are also hurting the Napa County wine industry. This financial strain is especially severe as it coincides with the downturn marked by declining consumer demand, a surplus of wine, and plummeting grape prices. So as I have shared with all of you, at the last spring symposium, SF Square has recommended that we work closely with John Tudor's office, stay, in tune as to what's going on with industry trends. Just last week, there was an article in the paper stating that Constellation Brands, the wine and spirits company behind labels including Robert Mondavi and The Prisoner, plans to close a large winery south of Sonoma. If you look at Constellation Brands on this list, they are right there in number 10. So again, just information for the board, keeping an eye on the wine industry and hospitality industry. As you know, we're a basic aid district funded off of property taxes. Our top taxpayers are in the wine industry. So I will continue to monitor this and share information as I become aware of them and work closely with John Tudor's office. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, trustees?
Question. So I I remember I'm talking about the bonds right now. I recall that we refinanced our bonds in the past, I think 2013 maybe, something like that. So my question is, if we were to, you mentioned something about possibly looking into refinancing for another year, would that just extend out the maturity date for a longer period of time then? So instead of like from 2038, when you refinance, does it push out the date?
It depends which series. So on the very first page, when I show that the series, the different series of Measure B and C bonds, it depends.
Okay.
So as I work with the financial advisors and we nail down which series we can possibly save taxpayer costs, I'll bring that back and I'll let you know all the information in terms of will it extend it or will it not.
Okay.
For example, we did just did a refund in 2023 right before I came on board, and that maturity day is actually 2033, which is before the last series, which will go up, the maturity day is 2038. So it just depends on the series.
Okay, okay. And refinancing doesn't necessarily mean where it's kind of like when you're refinancing your house and you're pulling out some kind of equity and stuff. It doesn't mean additional funds for the district. It's just it's just a straight refinance.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
that's
We're
right.
not pulling out any more money because that would be a completely different refinancing that would cost taxpayers, and that you would have to bring back to the taxpayers to vote on.
That's what I
This is
thought.
not
Okay.
that.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you.
And when will you have that information? For the question that trustee Kerr asked about, when will you have that for us?
I have a call with the financial advisors next week. We have a Zoom call to look over some of these series to see which ones could we possibly refinance. So I will hopefully have something for you in June. If not, then early next school year.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Vang. We'll move on to, excuse me, 9C Superintendent Subcommittee reports, and the only one we have is the Monrovia Group, which met on April 16th. And Dr. Clay and I provided you the St. Helena Teen Activities Survey results and the Monrovia agenda minutes. So those are written reports that you can take a look at. I just wanted to share that Selene and Dr. McClay created the survey and received feedback from leadership, and the middle school and the high school participated in the survey, and it gave us great information about what kids are interested in doing in our town after school and what they would like to see to help increase social engagement and enrich their lives after school. So we'll be discussing the results with our community partners and see how we can come together to liven things up a little bit in this sleepy town for our middle school and our high school kids. Yeah, absolutely.
That was nice survey. It was good to read those answers.
It was really valuable information.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Dr. McClay. Yeah. And to the middle school and the high school for participating in the survey. 9D, St. Helena Teachers Association. I would like to call on Mr. Lulsdorf.
Good evening, trustees. Good evening. Congratulations to Andy, all right, his last evening here, so nicely done. And I've heard we've roped in another person, so good. It's one of our swimmers, so she'll be great. I'm looking forward to seeing her out here. We're 3 weeks out, you're right. This is like the final push, so the next time I see you, a whole group of kids will be graduated and off on their new adventures. So, one thing some members have been talking to me and asking questions, so and it's kind of it's a weird juxtaposition, so some of our teachers are a little confused. When we see like the budget updates and people get we hear that there's, I've put out, maybe not the best words, but a kind of a gloomy outlook, so to speak. And then we see a job posting for a math teacher, and then we hear we're overstaffed, and it kind of is a reminder to the group that, we're in a situation. I mean, I remember when 55-day Bob was the superintendent about 10, 11 years ago, and he said, hey, we have declining enrollment, and yet at that time we kept hiring teachers. This is nothing that teachers have asked for, and then it puts us in a situation where the teachers bear the brunt either through budget constraints or through potential rifts, and this is not something that the teachers of their making, and yet we have an opportunity. We feel like when we see that we hear we're overstaffed, we could keep this internal, but we're choosing not to, so it's a mixed message that we're getting as a staff, to say the least. So, and so it just creates confusion amongst the group. So I just wanted to pass that on, and otherwise, looking forward to the end of the year, and we hope that everything goes smoothly and a good graduation. And the weather cooperates. It's not 100. So, all right. Thank you. All right.
Have a great Christmas.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
9E, California School Employees Association, report to the board, and I would like to call on, do we have a CSEA representative tonight? No. Okay. Nothing written? Received? Nothing? Okay. 9F, the communications, 9F through I, are the written reports from the site principals, and as always, we appreciate you compiling those for us and highlighting student achievement and parent participation. Thank you very much. We'll move on to business operations, 10A, approval of contracts over $25,000. I'd like to call on Dr. Vang.
All right, let me open up this document. I believe we have 3 contracts over $25,000. The first is Waves. This is an annual contract that I'm bringing forth for approval. And the second one is for ProCare to support with our special ed program. And the last one is Adroit Advanced Technologies. We may or may not need this service for next year, but just to be on the safe side, I did bring it to the board just in case we need it. Our student may not be participating in a non-public school placement for next year, and if that is the case, then we will not need this contract, but I did bring forth, just in case something changes, then I'm ahead of the game. So this is a contract that you've seen in the past. It may be for one student, it may not be. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions?
About that, Adroit, is that how you said it?
Adroit.
Adroit?
Yes.
So I'm assuming that we can get out of that contract without any kind of penalties and things then, is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If we don't use their services, then there's no charge to us, but if we don't have this contract in place and we need their services, then...
It'll be difficult.
Yes, so if the board approves this, it's ready to go next year, should we need it. If not, then we don't need it.
Perfect, okay.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve contracts over $25,000 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 10B, public hearing regarding the draft 2026-27 original budget. Dr. Vang.
All right, thank you, President Simon. So I am bringing forth the budget for next year. This is the public hearing. I will be back next month for the adoption, but let's start with this month. All right, so You've seen this chart before. This is our budget/financial cycle, and it starts with the fiscal year in July 1st, going all the way through June. So before July 1st, we have to adopt a budget. So today, like I said, this is the public hearing. I'll come back next month with the final budget for the board to review and hopefully adopt. The public hearing not only includes this year, but also the 2 subsequent years. So it's just like all the other budget reports that you've seen. It will include the base year and then the 2 subsequent years. And this is required by Ed Code 42127. Prior to the June adoption, prior to me bringing this back to you next month, the governor's May revision should be released shortly here, and that will provide me with the revised dartboard and an LCFF calculator, which I will use to update my numbers and then bring back to you. Should there be any additional tentative agreements, that will also be included in my budget, and I will bring that back. Otherwise, I will finalize the budget, work with Mrs. Ramos to ensure that we have the LCAP ready for adoption as well. So the budget and the LCAP will be brought back to you at the same meeting, but in different action items. These are the key assumptions used for the budget for next year. And again, please keep in mind that because the governor's May revise has not been released yet, the assumptions are based on the January governor's budget dartboard and the LCFF calculator that was most recently released. However, it is not the May revise. You'll notice here the property taxes. We are a basic aid district, and as I just shared with you earlier, our top taxpayers are wineries. So you'll see here that the property taxes are set to remain flat for next year and the out years per John Tudor's recommendation. We are keeping our percent increase at a 0% per his recommendation. And then you'll notice these are the other key assumptions that are listed here. And you'll notice on the bottom, the COLA, the statutory cost of living adjustment. Preliminary numbers show that for the May revise, this number is slightly up. I believe it might go, it's at 2.87, but don't quote me on it just yet until I bring it back. When I do use the May revise LCFF calculator, it may change our supplemental grant portion here, which is right here in the middle, these numbers here. So I will ensure that I point out the changes next month when I bring it back. Key assumptions also include negotiated salary increases, and you'll see 0, not because we're not giving any, but because we haven't settled yet. So until we settle, I won't have those numbers, those percentages to include in here. However, again, based on the governor's, January governor's budget dartboard, these are the assumptions that I'm using based on that dartboard. Multi-year projection, also known as MYP. This is our best guess of the revenue we will earn and the checks that we will write next year and the 2 out years. I do want to go down to the very last row where you see projected reserve including Fund 17. Fund 17 currently is the funding there is about $3.8 million, so that number is included in our projected reserve. The unrestricted ending fund balance is at 12.6, it's approximately 12.6 million. We are meeting our minimum requirement for reserves, and that's at 3%, and that's at 3% of general fund expenses. So as our general fund expenses increase, this number will increase. When our general fund expenses decrease, this number will decrease. So it's at 3% of general fund expenses. So as our general fund expenditures fluctuate, this number will also fluctuate. In the middle here, when you're looking at unrestricted ending fund balance, this 12.6 million, I do want to get out of here, and I want to show this chart right here. You'll notice that where it says transfers out, this 1.1 million that you see being transferred out, this includes 800,000 that the board approved in a prior resolution. 800,000 will be moved from general fund into Fund 14 to address deferred maintenance. And then you also approved Resolution 2440 for facilities, so you'll see that 4.5 million across all 3 years being set aside to address facilities needs. For next year, summer of 2027, this 4.5 million is set aside for the high school. If you recall, this is part of that 5-point-something million that the board recently approved to address the high school facilities needs. That's the high school modernization project. And then the following year, this 4.5 will be to, we will use these funds to address facilities needs over at RLS. Then we will circle back to the elementary school. So if you recall, we have a facilities master plan that we've put in place with stakeholder input, and we will utilize these funds to address our facilities projects at each of the schools as we rotate through. And what you see here was the information ad that I had currently at the time when I was putting this budget together. Since then, lots of things have changed. So due to recent changes, the final budget for the June board meeting will reflect the board-approved reduction in force positions. Additionally, we've been notified by some of our vendors that they are going to start applying fuel surcharges, whereas that didn't happen before. So we're getting a lot of notification in terms of rate increases or additional costs that we weren't used to paying. So those are things that I will need to update the budget with. Our federal title allocations, I just received our preliminary allocations last week, and all of our Title 1s, 2, 3, 4, the title funds that Mrs. Roma Flores alluded to earlier, those revenue, the preliminary allocations show a decrease compared to this year, so you'll notice less in our federal funds. Additionally, we've been told that our technology needs what I budget will not be sufficient because of all the things that are going on in today's economy, that there will be an increase in any of the technology needs for parts and pieces. So I want the board to be aware that when I do bring back the final budget next month, you will see changes in the MYP due to these recent notifications and changes that I've been made aware of. Next slide. This is the most recent chart that was shared at the Spring Symposium, SF Square Spring Symposium, so I wanted to reshare this with the board. Keep in mind that 3% reserve is about 2 weeks worth of salaries, and 17% is about 2 months. Currently, these are the statewide average ending fund balances as of the 24-25 school year. They don't have this year yet. As you all know, we're still in this fiscal year. And so these are actual numbers, actual percentages. For unified school districts, community-funded unified school districts such as ours, the average is about 24.33%. On this slide, our general fund contributions to restricted programs. Again, restricted programs are like mini funds. They should be self-sustaining. When they're not, then there are contributions that need to be made in order to keep these restricted programs running. And so the two big ones that I'm showing here are routine maintenance and special ed. And you can see the projected contributions not only for next year, but the 2 out years. Cash flow, we are projected to show, to have positive cash flow throughout next school year. Our beginning cash is projected at 14.4 million, and then with the ending cash projected at 15.6 million. So this is my preliminary budget for the board to review. Again, I will bring this back once it's finalized next month for the board to review and hopefully adopt. Are there any questions?
This is just for public hearing. So, the public hearing for the 2026-27 budget is now open at 9 p.m. Comments during the public hearing should be limited to the budget. However, we aim to hear from all of you who wish to be heard. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Trustees only on the 2026-27 budget. Okay, the public hearing is now closed at 9:01 p.m. Do the trustees have any questions about the 2026-27 budget? No questions?
I'm formulating my question.
I know.
I don't know if I have it formulated to the right. Dr. Vine, would anything move us from the black to the red next year?
Any unforeseen, unplanned expenses, knock on wood, litigation, any increases that we may not have anticipated,
Any sort of project, some sort of.
there are emergency
catastrophe,
facilities needs, just like you saw this year when we had to replace the heaters. All that would just come directly from the reserve.
Okay.
There's no other pot of money, it would come from the reserve, and that's the only pot of money I can tap into.
Right.
And so that would decrease your reserve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The reserves are what we're going to tap into for a variety of things. is that-
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And you heard earlier, we're anticipating a rate increase with PG&E. Utilities costs is going up pretty drastically, so that will come out of reserves as well.
Okay.
I do, and this is kind of at a state level. Recently, we've been, trustees have been sending out letters to the governor and folks there, just because of the Prop 98, where Governor Newsom is thinking about withholding some of the money and things. Now, is that Prop 98, is that in the form of LCFF funding? Okay, so we may see a little, I know we don't have a lot of revenue from LCFF, but we may receive a little bit if he decides not to withhold some of the funding. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So that sounds like that's coming up soon.
We will find out.
Yeah, exactly.
May
I know.
revise.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No. Trustee Moore? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much. Before we move on.
You know where to find us. Keep us posted about next steps, okay? We want to know. I will, for sure. And we'll see you in your cap again. Yes. Thank you. So I came in just with my coat, and I'm leaving. Yes, thank you guys. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to get into facilities, 11A, written report on the SHUSD Aquatics Program 2026. I'd like to remind the board that this is a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? I don't have a comment, but I do appreciate that it will now be open on Sundays and will be extended by 1 week in the summer. So thank you so much for making that happen. I really, really appreciate it.
I did have one question. Is there a potential for a July family swim night? I noticed there was just a June and an August.
So we are partnering with the City of St. Helena Parks and Rec, and right now we're being told that they have 2 planned swim nights, family swim nights. Should that change, we will update our schedule, but for right now, we've been told that they're offering just 2.
Okay, thank you.
And then they're also coordinating with Waves to ensure that we have sufficient lifeguards.
Okay, thank you.
I was planning to reach out, though, tomorrow, Mrs. Pelosi, because I did think it was odd when she pointed it out that those family swim nights don't line up month to month. There's a missing month in the middle, and so we thought maybe that was an oversight, but I will reach out tomorrow and ask.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. And my question is I noticed the fees for that, so the youth $4, do they ever offer like passes where you can buy like something for $40 and it reduces the price, just because of those that like to swim a lot, and having to pay $6 each time? Or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because that would be great, just to help with the cost a little bit. Because I know that I do hear comments kind of through the summertime where it's like that Calistoga doesn't charge, that whole thing. So, and I don't want to get into that conversation, but any way that we could reduce it would be awesome. But I also know that there's a lot of things to pay for the swimming pool in order to kind of keep it going as well. Yeah.
I kind of asked that too, because I know where we used to live in a college town, there was like, you could pay when you went, or you could buy a pool pass for the summer, and made a big difference. My question, I noticed on swim lessons, private by appointment, will they offer, do you have any idea, public swim lessons? And if so, how does one find out about that in the community?
Well, there's a new board that we've put up by the Aquatic Center. So Kevin with Waves has been posting announcements there. So perhaps...
Do you think it would go through, will the city promote that on their summer programs, do you think? Seems a little cross.
If it's a partnership with the city, but Mike and I have been working with the city, and we are actually meeting with the other Kevin from City Parks and Rec, I believe, is it next week or the week after that, to review their schedule, their summer schedule. So if I hear of anything, I will let you know.
Because I do know a lot of parents with young kids would love to have swim lessons that aren't private, that are a little more affordable, so.
Yes. I think part of the struggle, part of the challenge is lifeguards.
Yeah.
Sure. It has been consistently for many years.
The district doesn't own this, correct? This swim program?
No.
Nor do we set the rates?
No, we work directly.
I just want to clarify.
We work with, I shouldn't say no, I should say we work with Waves and the city.
We provide the pool.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, because we don't have any say, I thought, that's why I was just clarifying on if they have passes or how much they charge. I thought that was a city or Waves-owned component. Is that true?
We work with Waves to set that. Whatever we bring in offsets our cost to Waves.
Say that one more time,
Yeah.
please.
So we work with Waves, so any revenue earned from the summer swim program, that revenue offsets our costs to Waves. So.
We're paying for it.
Yes.
And whatever they bring in, we pay less. So we're subsidizing.
Yes, basically, yes.
The community swim program. Okay.
Okay.
Which then would beg the question that there could be a bit more dialogue about a swim pass or public swim lessons that might, but that's for another night, maybe.
It does say students swim for free, I thought on there.
No, I'm talking about the swim lessons
yeah.
and a pass to.
Right.
So just, let's put that in the parking lot.
It's an ongoing conversation that
Yes.
Mike and I are having with Waves.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Glad that conversation is continuing.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. 11B, approval of amendment approving fee adjustment to the professional services agreement for construction management services for the St. Helena Elementary School roof, drainage, and HVAC at buildings A, B, and E project. Dr. Vang.
Thank you, President Simon. So if you recall, at the November 2025 board meeting, there was a budget increase of $620,000 and added scopes of work added to the overall project over at the elementary school. And that increase was due to the fact that our insurance carrier, NBSIA, has changed their practice so that rather than when there's a claim, sending it over to them, sending all the invoices and having them take care of everything, it is now in our books. And because it's in our books, we pay for it up front and then we get reimbursed. We submit for reimbursement. And with that, that piece, that the 620, this increase really lives with NBSIA, but it's in our books. And with this increase also comes an increase in construction management. So the increase that you're seeing, this $23,000, is actually a cost that we will pay up front, but NBSA will reimburse us for. There's about $900 that we'll be responsible for, but the majority of this will be paid, reimbursed by NBSIA.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
A quick, what is the lag time in the reimbursement? What have you seen, kind of like with the Boys and Girls Club and things with reimbursements?
It's a process that we are still working through with NBSIA. Okay. It's a process.
Okay.
It's a new process.
We were talking about that previously with the Boys and Girls Club, so.
Okay, great. That's my only question.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the fee adjustment to the professional services agreement for construction management services for the St. Helena Elementary School roof, drainage, and HVAC project as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 11C, approval to award a contract to EVT Builders LLC for the St. Helena Unified School District Maintenance Yard Gate Project. Dr. Vang.
All right, so this was this is not a new gate. This is a gate that you've already approved. The money is already there, but as the board, you have to, until you formally approve these contracts, because it is a contract over 25,000, I can't allow anyone to start any work or pay them. So I'm bringing this forth for your official formal approval.
Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contract to EVT Builders LLC for the St. Helena Unified School District Maintenance Yard Gate Project as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Human Resources, 12A, approval for the 2026-27 Declaration of Need. I'd like to call on Mr. Heller.
All right, waited 3 hours, I get to speak. All right. Good evening. Each year, we're required to fill out the Declaration of Need for potential short-term credential waivers with the Napa County Office of Education and the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. This is if we have to employ teachers that don't have clear credentials.
Okay.
So this Declaration of Need intends to assure our educational partners that we're making a genuine effort to hire fully credentialed teachers. Before we'd have to consider resorting to a candidate on an emergency or limited credential basis. Okay? This is different than what the board sometimes authorizes in August or September when we do consent to teach authorization. So I want to keep those separate. Those are two different things. This is about our efforts to recruit teachers each year. So we typically don't have a problem attracting teachers, and when we have vacancies exist, we have a number of applicants, so we have not run into this situation previously. However, we do have to file this annually. It has been something we've done since I've been here 10 years. We do this every year, and we just adjust the numbers periodically just to reflect what we might need. So we don't foresee anything occurring that would generate a need for what's called a short-term permit. So it's a STIP or a preliminary, which is a PIP. So those are things that other districts are using when they don't have teachers that are fully credentialed. We don't anticipate that need, but weird things happen, so we do have to fill it out, and we do put numbers in there as placeholders, but we don't anticipate that this is something that we're going to need. So be happy to answer any other additional questions.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
What do they do with it? What do they do with this information?
Well, so if we don't file it and there is a need, this Commission on Teacher Credentialing would say you didn't file this, so therefore you cannot use a teacher with a permit.
I got it.
So for us, it's a safety net of sorts, just to do it, just in case. But in other districts, I saw something, I did a little research, and there's a school district that has 500 special ed teachers that they're going to employ with a STIP or a PIP, which is terrifying. So I imagine it's one of the larger districts in the state. But we do see that there's a teacher shortage, and that there is a need to recruit teachers, and sometimes teachers aren't fully credentialed. So this is a way these waivers allow districts to begin that process of onboarding teachers. Again, I don't anticipate we would have that need, but I was thinking of an example of a drama teacher, let's just say, where it's kind of a hard position to fill with a unique credential. If Patty were to go and we had a difficult time recruiting a drama teacher, but the only one available didn't have a full credential and was on a permit, this would give us the opportunity to employ that person while they're obtaining their credential.
Okay.
Does that clarify all that?
Wondering about the dance
Clarifies,
teacher.
thank
We were like, we have a dance teacher?
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2026-27 Declaration of Need as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Board-related items, 13A, adoption of Resolution 25-32, SHUSD Employee Appreciation for May 2026. And I'd like to call on Dr. McClay.
I referenced this earlier, and we are requesting that the board designate May as our staff appreciation. You know that historically, we've combined, most districts do in the state of California, certificated as well as classified. So I believe we had our student rep prepared to read this tonight, Mrs. Simon.
Trustee Kerr.
Trustee Kerr is reading it.
Trustee Kerr.
Beautiful. So-
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Trustee Kerr, take it away.
Okay. St. Helena Unified School District, Resolution 25-32, Staff Appreciation Week 2026. Whereas providing quality education to our young people continues to be our greatest challenge in education, as well as our most vital responsibility. And whereas we rely on our teaching and support staff to ensure quality instruction in a wide variety of subjects in and out of the classroom. And whereas, in addition to teaching academics, teacher and classified staff members provide guidance, support, and encouragement to the children of St. Helena, a commitment that we as a community are proud of and deeply appreciative. And whereas our staff members go far beyond their contractual obligations, demonstrating a level of dedication and commitment that we deeply respect and value. And whereas it's appropriate that we recognize and express appreciation to the employees of St. Helena Unified School District and acknowledge with gratitude the care and concern that they have for our students. And therefore, be resolved that the St. Helena Unified School District Governing Board acknowledges the month of May as Staff Appreciation Month, and be it further resolved that the board extends its sincere appreciation to the instructional and support staff of the St. Helena Unified School District for their extraordinary dedication and professional commitment to the students of the St. Helena community during this week and throughout the year.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Kerr.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. Thank you.
Is there anyone who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
No.
I don't have a question, but I do want to make one comment in appreciation. You know, I've been working on the 150th, and last month, I want to publicly acknowledge Dr. McClay, because she decided that this wasn't okay, that the district needed to be in the parade, and I think Selene made a flyer, and they recruited. She came Saturday morning with her family, and I was just most appreciative of you making that effort and exemplifying what a part of the community our school is. And I just want you to know how much that was appreciated. It was a really, really above and beyond. So thank you.
It was my honor. It was super fun, and I would have to throw it back to you as well, because I think you did an inordinate amount of work, kind of being the master of ceremonies down Main Street. And then also to Lindsay Swickard, a public acknowledgement. She and Judy Ashwanden and Randy Mendez, they already had an event planned for that day originally when I asked, but I think they sensed the desperation that we really wanted more students out there, and they did a divide and conquer and literally split kids and had them at two different events with two different staff members on a Saturday. Lindsay came early, or Mrs. Swickard, and was outside really helping to coordinate. So lots of people involved to make it a good success.
FFA has just been outstanding in volunteering. I know for 3 different events that I've worked with, the 150th, losing my voice, they've sent volunteers and they've just been great. So I'm most appreciative of FFA too.
Wow. Okay, yes. Extraordinary dedication from our teachers, and we honor them this month and every month. So thank you very much to our lovely staff, especially the ones that are here right now at 9:20 p.m. Thank you for your professionalism and your dedication. Thank you. 13B, adoption of Resolution 25-31, Pride Month, June 2026.
Do we want to?
Oh, yes. Got ahead of myself. Is there a motion to, excuse me? Oh, is there a motion to, okay, we're back at 13A. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-35 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 13B, adoption of Resolution 25-31, Pride Month, June 2026. Trustee Wolf, would you like to read this resolution?
Of course.
Okay.
Let me see. Make it the right thing.
Oh, Dr. McClay, I am sorry. Let's start with Dr. McClay.
No, I just wanted to point out, this is part of board policy, that students bring this forward, and we actually had two groups request. It came from the high school ASB as well as the middle school Unity Club. And so we put it together representing really the desires and requests of both of the schools.
Thank you.
Okay, the resolution?
Yes.
All right. St. Helena Unified School District, Resolution 25-31, Pride Month 2026. Whereas the vision and mission of the St. Helena Unified School District promote a safe, supportive, and inclusive learning environment where all students can fully develop as resilient, caring, and responsible individuals and citizens. And whereas the St. Helena Unified School District celebrates diversity in students, staff, and the school community. And whereas the district is firmly committed to providing a safe, nurturing, and tolerant environment in our schools. And whereas the district is firmly committed to school safety for all of our students, staff, and family members, including the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, LGBTQ+ community, or those who may be perceived as such. And whereas Board Policy 5145.3 prohibits discrimination in its programs and activities based on gender or sexual orientation, among other characteristics. And whereas June is a symbolic month in which LGBTQ+, their families, friends, and allies come together in various celebrations of freedom and pride. Therefore, be it resolved, the St. Helena Unified School District proclaims the month of June 2026 to be LGBTQ+ Pride Month, and will honor and highlight the accomplishments and contributions of LGBTQ+ students, staff, and their families. Pride Month is an avenue to ensure that bullying, harassment, and discrimination based on real or perceived orientation, gender identity, and gender expression are deemed unacceptable in our community. Be it further resolved, by recognizing Pride Month, the district continues to support all other policies, practices, and curricula that honor and respect LGBTQ+ students, staff, families, and the greater community. Passed and adopted 14th day of May at a regular board meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Wolf. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Okay. I do appreciate that we have this resolution, and while I think St. Helena does a great job with our Unity Club at the RLS and at the high school, I know we can always do better. So that is always a work in progress, I believe, for all of our students. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-35 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 13C, information on the CSBA governance self-assessment tool and timeline. Dr. McClay.
Okay, this is another one that you are familiar with. You see this each year, and we are simply asking for the 2-week window, and I believe we put it in there. I had the item up. Where did it go? Here it is. We're suggesting May 18th, so that means you would receive the survey on Monday. It would be open through Tuesday of June 2nd. That's because there is a Monday holiday in there. This gives you the opportunity to self-reflect on our collective board practices, and then we will collate it and bring it back at the June meeting for you to review as a whole.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions?
No, the window sounds totally acceptable to me.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Similar to the past.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. 13D, request to accept gifts, donations, or earmarked funds. Let's see here. Trustee Pelosi, would you mind reading?
You got it.
Thank you so much.
The board is asked to accept with immense gratitude the following donations. St. Helena High School has received the following donations totaling $2,200. The amount of $1,000 from Seroptimus International of St. Helena donated to FFA General from the crab feed. $700 from the Napa Valley Marathon donated to track and field. $500 from Sport Orthopedic Physiotherapy, I think I got that right, to donate it also to track and field. And it looks like the donation was various shop tools that were donated by Gary Erickson and Kathleen Crawford to the Ag Shop program. Again, thank you for those donations.
Wonderful. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Is there a motion to approve the gifts, donations, or earmarked funds as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to get into the consent agenda now. Hold on one moment. So sorry. I do not have that clicked. Okay. The consent agenda contains routine items judged as appropriate to be acted upon in one motion. If a board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda, the item will be considered under discussion action items. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
No, I don't.
I have a question, and it's not that I need to pull something, but I know one of the contracts had to do with our speakers. News is here, and I think we did get an explanation about the middle school. But I'm just curious, just informational, if at a later date, I know on our report, Dr. McClay, you had said the principals could speak to it, but we don't have them now. But I just think it would be, and maybe in Friday memo or something, could you tell us what those presentations are like or what it involves?
I'm happy to. I actually was able to get more information from principals this afternoon, so I can collate it and get it for you in your weekly update.
I mean, I'm all for it. I was just, for my own personal knowledge, would like to know a little more.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Wolf. Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to be at 15 future agenda items. Let's take a look at the June 11th meeting, regular meeting of the board. Any additions, trustees?
It's not, certainly nothing it's not necessary for it to be immediate by any means, but I'm interested in learning more about our deferred maintenance projects that are coming up for the next year. Like a list of what we're planning on doing, yeah.
Like what made the short list for 26, 27.
Exactly, thank you, thank you, nicely said.
Okay.
I think it might be in, I'm sorry.
No, I'm set, thank you very much.
And I don't know if this is an agenda item, but I think we would be interested to kind of get a final recap from the high school, like how many students are going to different programs or colleges and where. I've heard talk about, somebody's going to Stanford, somebody's going, I just think it would be really informational for us, and I don't know whether that's in a board meeting or attachment to a Friday memo or something, just to kind of see where our kids are going and informational.
Yes, and I apologize, I'm looking up there for where that list is. I think where that missing bullet is. We had a list of 5 or 6 student data pieces, and we've been speaking in cabinet about, there were things like attendance, so end of the year attendance data, A to G data, college post-graduation plan data. I'm drawing a blank, it's late. There were 5 or 6 of those. I believe we took it off because there was no way we could have that data ready for you by the June 11th meeting when the last day of school is June 5th or 4th, and we would be posting the agenda that very next day. So we took it off thinking we'll plunk these in during August, September, and October as that data becomes available. But I love that idea of making sure we get that included.
Thank you.
You could also get the slideshow from the senior rally, because they included a picture, I mean, it's like a baby picture, but at least you can see the names and where everyone is going next year, or what they're doing next year. That might be an easy way to satisfy it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, and even that could maybe even be included on Mr. Cinto's principal's report as.
Yeah, a link.
Okay. Anything else, trustees?
What is the one below the blank one? What's a Con App Spring?
That's the annual Con App. That's where I report out on our title funds, like Title I, Title II. And so it's just accepting it, bringing it forth, and then having you review it. It's an annual thing. There's a spring one and a
Didn't
fall one.
recognize the name. Okay.
Yes.
It's always called Con App? Wow.
Short for consolidation.
Oh, okay. Well, that one I'm.
Sorry. There you
Duh.
Great, and we'll have our board self-evaluation reflections, so we'll be prepared with some notes to discuss. Okay, fabulous. Anything?
Yes, President Simon, are we doing anything festive for the board meeting?
Oh, I didn't know.
In past years, we've done some fun things. Just curious.
I'll let you know. I'll think on this, absolutely. Okay.
your
Thank you
job?
for, yeah. Okay, let's go to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Meeting ended at 9:34 PM. Thank you so much.
Thank you.